Our adventuring band of demigods recently delivered their friendly Roman counterparts at Camp Jupiter, and we departed for San Francisco to find the next part of our quest, the body on the beach. After arriving on the Golden Coast, we found Jack, the golden boy and son of Jupiter, surrounded by owl feathers, face down on the beach. We conversed for a little while, found some remnants of Jack's brother on the shore, and tracked down Bane via unsecured Wi-Fi networks thanks to a hack job from Wally. In the security footage, we found out that Bane had been abducted by a Hearst Castle maintenance vehicle and taken southbound. We summoned the Grey Sisters and rode to San Simeon to investigate the Hearst Castle State Park. After a brief social encounter, we secured passage aboard a tour bus and rode all the way up to the top of the hill. Upon arrival, our guided tour instructed us to fight the driver, but David had other plans. He bit and befriended the Cyclops driver and fought bare-knuckled against David until I put out their fight with a fire extinguisher. We then explored the castle grounds, fixed a statue, purged golden dust from the water supply, befriended a rose bush, and fertilized the grounds with fresh ground Cheez-It dust and zombie corpses. We now find ourselves just entering Hearst Castle. No.
No claps?
No, each of them.
Okay.
Hooray!
Any commentary you guys would like to add or stipulate?
I like it. I think she did an excellent job.
Yes, she did.
Thank you.
Which is why I clapped, but no.
No
Claps aren't appropriate.
Nope.
Thank you. All right. Well, gentlemen, this is a depiction of the entranceway that you recently came through.
Straight out of the 80s.
Yep, it is straight out of the 80s, as Laura puts it. Upon arrival, you saw some staircases that ascend into the main grounds. Oh, these are the statues that I was describing, that are the busts of, just from the torso up, of women with large round balls above their head that light up in the evening time.
Neat.
And as you approach, Laura would also have pointed out this portion of the building in particular, because she has a history with it. Laura, do you remember what that is?
I don't think we covered it yet, but that's the Celestial Suite, I think, on the far side of the main Casa Grande.
Yep. So in particular, that is on the north wing. I recommend you make a mental note of that, if you wish. Because I'll be asking you which directions you're heading and what you do.
I'm worried for a second there. I was like, you threatening us already?
Not yet. No. This is a depiction of the Neptune pool.
Ooh.
That you briefly walked by but didn't get to investigate just yet. These are some of the statues that are present. Some columns, some artwork. The beauty and majesty that is Hearst Castle. California State Park. Trademark.
All those years ago when people were allowed to go outside.
I remember those days where people would congregate in groups of more than 10 without face masks.
Yes, the good old days. This is the view from the Esplanade, which is the walkway that surrounds and intertwines the different buildings and sections of Hearst Castle. In particular, this area that is depicted here is the front and main entrance to Hearst Castle, which you guys are now just inside of. This is one of the many casas and cottages that are here. I believe this one is the Casa del Mar. No, sorry, this one is the Casa del Monte. It is on the northmost section of the grounds. You can tell based off of the decorations and the many architectural features, the inspirations that were used for this. There's a combination of Roman aspects and Greek aspects here as well. And lots of crenellations and fortifications should you ever need to, I don't know, defend yourselves from an onslaught or something.
Because, that never happens.
No,
Pretty
never, right?
regularly, actually. Although last time the trees did the work.
That is true. Lady Thorn did wrap her roots around some people and pull them down.
She handled that business.
So this is some of the chambers. I guess you just skipped it.
What are you looking for?
The entrance. Like, nobody walks through the entrance.
No, you can't go through the main gate. Like, the front. Literally the front doors. Well, we did, but on a tour you're not supposed to.
Screw the rules. We have something resembling money.
Yeah. Well, Shortly picked the lock, so.
Screw the rules. We have Shotley.
That is true. Wally could also pick the lock.
He was feeding the trees.
You keep calling them trees, but they were low. They were low shrubbery and bushes.
Some trees, right?
There were, but there weren't any there.
Oh, okay.
He was tending the garden.
Yeah.
Maybe the shrubbery has lofty goals to one day grow into a tree.
And this is the Roman pool.
Ooh.
That Laura had also mentioned as well. So, thank you for taking this guided tour with me. I will happily give this a like since I used it for D&D. Alright.
Do you need a new map for paint?
No, I don't need a new map for paint.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna use the old map.
The one that has all these weird green flats.
Voids.
And voids. Well, gentlemen, what do you remember of the entranceway?
Well, are we indoors at this point, or are we still standing out front? I thought we all went inside, yeah?
You all went inside. It is evening, and there is no sources of light inside that you see. It is an entirely black area, and the only sources of light are coming from behind you at the doors that you recently just shut. Assuming they haven't moved anywhere, Laura and Shotley are also inside as well. Jack and David and Wally entering last.
Okay. No one appears to be around?
You bump around in the dark and you notice that your allies are beside you. You have not detected anybody else or anything further. There's furniture and walls surrounding you in different areas, some mounted artwork that you can't really identify in the darkness. But it is a dense and black corridor that leads forward.
I guess I'll look to Chotley. So, where to next?
So we're in the main room, right? Like we're right back in the middle, right at the entrance.
Yes.
Okay. I want to look around to see if there's any directory.
You look around and you find Laura.
So what
She's
goes
your
right
host.
and what goes left, Laura?
So if we go to the right, it's mostly, that's the south wing, and it's mostly guest bedrooms with Hearst's public library. And if we go to the north wing, which is to the left, it's Hearst's private bedroom, his mistress's bedroom, and his private library.
He'd probably be in the private area rather than the common area, so let's take it to the north wing.
Great.
Laura, lead the way.
I guess Laura tries to fumble along the hallway trying to find a lamp or a modern light switch.
Oh gee, if any of you had packed torches or some sort of light. You have your inventory in front of you, Laura.
I'd rather find a light,
Sure.
light switch.
She doesn't want to burn the place down.
Or a lamp.
Not yet. I mean, you can even ask Wally for glow sticks.
I don't know if those are that bright. Cholet removes one torch from his backpack and lights it up.
Hey, Kirby, can I get a flashlight?
Kirby spits out a torch.
An actual torch or like British torch? Flashlight.
That was the joke, yes.
That's
Spits out a flashlight.
And I pass it to Laura.
Okay. Laura takes it. Anywhere in particular that you wanted to start?
What's first?
I guess the closest thing would be the library, which is on the floor we're on, the first floor, and then the bedrooms, the private bedrooms, are on the second floor.
Let's go to the library first, since we're already on the floor.
Alright. With the usage of Cholet's torch immediately illuminating the area surrounding the group, you're able to find and navigate your way through. Laura uses her flashlight to point out some of the architecture and dangerous articles of furniture that are around you so that you can navigate and find your way to the library with ease. You notice that since it is closed and the feature is supposedly closed for the evening, there are no other sources of light. Laura, you would know that there are electrical generators and sources of power inside of the house, and as soon as you're able to find a switch, you would want to flip it on. You have the option to flip it on.
Yes.
So you flip the switch
Yes.
with your bare
With
hand?
my bare hand.
Ooh.
Hey, don't steal my bare hands. I worked hard for those.
Yes, you did. Your hand reaches out into the darkness, finds the switch, flips it. One by one, all the lights in the castle on this floor turn on and illuminate the public library section.
The private library.
Private library section.
Could be like restricted, classified. You're not allowed to see what's in there.
Ooh. In particular,
Ooh.
there are several things that you might find interesting in this room. The walls are completely lined from floor to ceiling with books and built-in shelving. Just at the top of it, you notice that there is a large amount of pottery. Upon inspection, you notice that they are Greek and Roman in origin and depict heroes and battles from the Battle of Troy.
This motherfucker.
As you look around, you notice that all of the chairs and dining areas in this... Sorry, there's no dining areas. All of the chairs and studying areas, tables, are barren and empty, while these images do depict that there are things on them. In your scenario, there is nothing. These tables are blank and barren, with nothing upon them. You notice that the books themselves have a iron grate spread across them, and the pottery up at the top does have chicken wire wrapped around and pinned in spots holding up the pottery. Wally, you do notice something out of the corner of your eye. Go ahead and roll perception.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Oof. That's gonna be a big 2.
Roll the 9. You notice something.
So
very
4,
golden
I guess.
shiny.
Yeah. Sorry.
You notice something very gold and shiny. off to the left-hand side of this area, you notice that the windows have their curtains drawn, and it appears to be emitting some of the light into the room as well, reflecting some of the lights that are hanging above, but also giving off a faint glow.
I'll look over at Laura. What do you suppose that is?
Yeah.
The statues?
You would
Oh, it's gone.
set this.
Wally, could you say that one more time?
What do you suppose that is?
Well, I mean, limit.
Oh, that's one of Hearst's oldest statues. Not a lot is known about it. I just know that it's a depiction of someone riding a chariot,
What color is it?
and the whole statue it's not solid gold, but it's gold leaf at least.
Wally, you do recognize this as a reference to something you saw in your quest as well, given to you from the oracle.
All right, I will slowly approach it.
All right. You
I would
nimbly,
like to
dexterously
investigate the
dip
area
and
of the
dive
traps.
around the furniture. You approach and you recognize that it is mounted to the pillar and pedestal that it is on. It has thick, large 2-inch bolts, 2 of them, that pierce through the gilded sections of it into the pillar below.
Does it appear to be like booby trapped in any way? Motion sensors, anything like that?
You may roll investigation.
That's going to be a 14. I'm rolling low to start.
You suspect, based off of where it is and what's going on, that the bolts themselves are meant to adhere it to there, so that way it doesn't get tampered with. But based off of the pressure-sensitive areas and the electrical cord running down the base of the pedestal, you suspect there's some form of booby trap, or at least alarm system.
Okay. I will slowly approach.
You put one foot in front of the other, Indiana Jones style, approaching.
Am I getting any kind of vibe off of it? Does it seem like it's important, or is there anything unusual about it? Like maybe some sort of hidden compartment that's obvious to my eyes?
Upon your investigation, you do find that it is quite interesting to you. Specifically, it does not appear to match the style of the other statues in the area, almost as if it is created by something that is way beyond the material means of man. You suspect possibly a creation of godly origin.
Okay. I would like to see. I would like to investigate the traps to see if there's a way to disconnect it from them.
All right. You fumble around, reaching around, trying to find where the cord meets the wall, where the cord meets the pedestal, and find that they are completely sealed off and encased within it. Upon putting your fingers on the pedestal itself, you can feel the electricity thrumming inside of it, and you can understand the mechanical interworkings of it. You recognize that it does have a pressure plate on it, and that by loosening either of the 2 bolts, you would jostle it enough that it would trigger the alarm below. David, go ahead and roll an intelligence check. And Shelly, what are you doing?
I'm checking around the room to see if there's any footprints at all, any sort of I want to check to see how dirty the room is, if it's clean or if it's dusty.
Excellent, Eddie. Would you like to roll investigation or survival?
I'll take investigation.
All right. Let me know what you get. David.
I have to find my D20 in my baggie because I had it.
That's going to be a 9. Sorry, it's going to be a 10. 10 investigation.
Nice.
And David got a 2.
All right.
No, not all right.
You get the feeling that your investigation would have definitely turned a better result if David wasn't in your face the entire time. You're walking around, pulling out your monocle, inspecting the grounds for footprints, seeing if there's any dust or any traces of maybe a fingerprint or a scuffle of the rug. David is just immediately within 6 inches of your face the entire time you peruse the library. You do notice that there are fingerprints and smudges along several sections of the library, and the bookcases themselves appear to have dust that has been displaced in different areas, and some of the gates themselves look a little ragged and worn, as if they have been pried open and peeled back. David?
Yeah?
Upon your inspection as well, following Showlight, you notice he stares at the ground a lot. Like, I don't know what he's looking for, but he seems a little happy that he found some of it, and it's making you happy that he's found some stuff.
Yeah.
Wally's off doing his Wally thing, but Showlight you can tag along with. Laura, what you doing?
She is not near any of the furniture or the books, muttering things about no flash photography and staying on the assigned carpet space. Just
As
being huffy in the
they
corner.
immediately leave off of the intended section.
She's just going to be quietly grumpy for a minute.
Say, hey Laura, come take a look at this. and I wave her over.
I carefully walk over, trying to copy Shotley's footsteps so I don't mess up the antique rug that's older than all of us.
You follow his serpentining path and notice that not only are his footprints on the rug, but also David's thick, heavy boot prints are as well. And you notice that they've tracked a little bit of mud and it's starting to cake on the floor as well. As you approach, you notice that Shelley's pointing out some of the library sections that have been peeled back and books that have been disheveled, dust that has been displaced, and some you recognize books are also missing on the wall. Let's cut back to Wally. Wally, what you gonna do?
Well, I was investigating to see if there was a way to disconnect the traps. I have identified the trap.
The wires themselves seem to be self-encased in both cases. The wire itself runs to the wall, where it does not have any sort of port nearby. And the pedestal itself has no clear discernment between cord and the pedestal. It encases it as well. You could try to peel it back or hack through it, whatever you wish to do.
Can I tell where the feed from this goes?
It does feed into the southernmost wall that is nearby. And you can assume it goes to a central security system as well.
I would like to try to bypass the electrical feed.
Okay. You suspect that the electrical cord itself is feeding a direct line into the wall, into the feed. How would you like to intersplice yourself?
Say, strip it back.
So you pull out some wire cutters, strip back the cable.
Strip back the cable, and then I would want to take a battery and a little copper wiring and use that copper wiring to complete the circuit on the battery. And then I would want to lay that copper wiring alongside the wiring for the pressure plate so that there's a completed electrical circuit that's uninterrupted. And then I would want to cut the cable further up.
All right. Go ahead and make a sleight of hand check.
Let's be a 15.
All right. You nimbly peel back the rubber coating on the wire, stripping it with ease, pull out a battery from Kirby and some copper wiring, affix it, and just in time you lift your fingers up as the copper makes contact and you hear it's like as it ignites and connects the circuit. You feel confident that this has definitely completed the circuit since it is now, as you feel it, still thrumming equally there. As you reach over, you snip the cable and you look around. Hear no sound of alarm. You feel the wire itself with your hands. Being the child of Hephaestus that you are, you feel that the circuit is still connected. And you don't hear any gears grinding, you don't hear any motors running or any klaxons or any sort of unperturbed electrical signals that you had felt before. It feels everything is still at ease.
Okay. Now I would like to more closely investigate the statue to see if it has any sort of hidden compartment on it, or if it's got any kind of like message written on it, or anything like that.
You recognize that the chariot itself that is affixed to the base is not originally designed to go there. As you start to unscrew different sections of it and pull it apart and disassemble it, you notice that the chariot itself does have the symbol of Vulcan that you're familiar with. The arc with the two. Oh, I'm trying to find it. It looks almost like a sideways teacup. The
Oh
D
yeah,
flat
right,
plate
right,
below
right.
it. You
All
recognize
right.
it has several markings and indications that do lead you to believe that it does have a godly bearing to it, that this might have been a creation of your fathers.
Well, I'm gonna go with my instinct on this one, and do what the H kids do when they see that symbol, and just put my thumb to it, see what happens.
All right. As you press your thumb into it, you feel that the metal itself starts to heat up and starts to become more malleable and pliable in your fingers. It starts to expand and quickly grow to the size of its initial form, which was a large chariot. The horses themselves come to life and start to prance about and start to knock over some of the pottery and dishevel some of the books nearby.
I will quickly reach out with my mind and ask it to shrink to its original size.
The horses cock their head over to the side at you, bow their heads, and slowly shrink back down. David, there were
Okay.
horses here. You saw it out of the corner of your big eye, and there were like golden horses. There were 3 of them. They knocked over more books than Shotley does. All right, Shotley, do you continue to investigate the bookcases and missing books?
I do. I point all these out to Laura and mention that someone else has been here before we have, since there are missing items. And I point out the aspects of the rug that I found.
Laura, you do know that this is strange, especially since all of the books are locked up intentionally, and this is the private collection. So you find this quite incriminating that somebody has been here before you, and suspicious.
How rude.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to comment on? Any ideas?
I guess she just agrees with Shotley that there are things missing and there's things that aren't in the right spot.
Is there any other connected rooms that you know to this? I know we had a similar encounter last time where we found the secret passageway, but there's nothing here, right? That you know of?
I don't know anything about secret passageways, but
Let me get his.
oh, okay, that's this one.
It's a D20.
Yep.
Just like, actually, you do.
Maybe. 15 plus 9.
Your intelligence modifier for history, which is +3.
So 18.
Nice. You do know that not all of the areas that are nearby are allowed for the general populace to investigate. There are some areas that are quarantine off limits that you're familiar to, including some of the areas that you go to when you were renovating and trying to refurbish some of the art and pieces that are nearby. There are some areas that are sectioned off for that, so you do know of some other aspects.
Okay. So I know that there are some side rooms that we use to fix broken pieces of art and, dust off the books on occasion to translate, but nothing sinister that I know of.
So you don't actually hear me, so you
Yeah,
need to translate.
Yeah.
But thank you. I am your internal monologue, so
Yes.
you're thinking these things. It's like, yes, to translate my thoughts.
I want to inspect the bookcases and see what kind of section of books are missing.
All right, go ahead and make an investigation check. And I need you to do the same. And David, please roll perception.
14.
You're making an investigation check.
And you said perception?
Yes, please, David.
David rolls an 8.
All right.
Laura got an 11.
Shole, what did you roll again?
14.
14. All right, so you do notice this first before everyone else. You notice that a lot of the books and titles have been alphabetized in the area. You notice that coming from the left-hand side are all of the A through G, and then off to the right-hand side are I through Z. You notice that there's a big section missing of these books that feature titles that have the number or letter H prominently featured in it. Yes, the number H. My favorite.
That's David's favorite number 2.
Yes. Laura, in particular, you know that there are sections of it that are devoted to different Greek mythology areas in here. In particular, he did have some sections that refer to Hermes, to Hephaestus, to Hades, and a very large collection devoted to Hera that was here as well.
Okay.
Do you wish to tell?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, David, you also notice that there are several books on the floor and they're moving on their own accord.
So David just looks down and is like, them books is moving.
Yes.
Do books do that?
They appear to almost be like inchworms. They crinkle themselves up and then slowly extend back out as they are crawling themselves towards one of the entrances that you passed by on your way. They are making their way towards some of the stairs nearby.
Hey, the book, Laura, do books normally move?
No, not on their own.
Well, these books are moving. Yeah. They're like little wormies.
Keep conversing. Don't look at my book. There's supposed to be a DM screen here.
I'm not looking at your book. I'm trying to figure out. Well, Laura wanted to try to figure out what percentage of like the Greek mythology section is missing. Like just the H.
The letter H.
Okay. So
anything that had a capital H in the title is missing.
Oh.
So even if it wasn't the first word of the book, like the history of Aphrodite, it's like that book's missing because it has a capital H in it.
Okay. And can Laura notice that specifically?
I narrate it because you noticed it.
Okay. So Laura turns to David. One second, David. And turns back to Shole. I only
David
noticed that the books on Greek mythology with capital letter H are missing. That's the only thing that's gone. And then she turns back to David. What is happening?
Do I hear that as well?
You hear that?
I also look past Laura's shoulder. I'm like, wait, forget that. What?
David would like to point at the books that are inchworming their way towards the stairs and be like, unless they're not really doing that, and I'm just seeing things. Those books are moving.
David, go ahead and make a wisdom saving throw.
David is hallucinating.
Yes.
David wakes up first, still inside the cave.
What was it? A wisdom or perception?
Wisdom saving throw.
4.
All right, David, you are pretty sure the books are crawling along the floor and out the door. The weird thing, you look over at Cholet and he watches as the book itself inches away as well. Laura, you notice these books crawling away. Huh. She lets out a big huh. I wonder what that is.
All right, so I'm not the only one who sees the books crawling.
Nope, I see them too.
You see them leading a trail of their
Well-
board, and you notice some of the other books themselves at this point start to rattle the cages that are pinning them to the bookcases. Some of them prying open areas, falling on the floor, wrinkling up and rolling down on the carpet, and then inching their way towards the door.
David is very uncomfortable being here. The last time things really wanted to get out of cages, he did not have a good ending.
And when was that, David?
That was in the
The Terminus.
It was in the bunker. It was in the bunker with Terminus.
Yep. Terminus shot you in the ass.
I took a wrench up the spine, and I think there is still the scar to see, like, the brand of wrench that it was and what size it was, and you can read it pretty darn clear.
Yes, the Hefsman 3/4 inch Allen wrench.
Oof.
So David's feeling a little on edge. That scar's a little bit tingly. He's worried he's going to take a dictionary upside the back again. There's a lot more words than that wrench. That wrench only had one word, and it did that much damage.
It did also have the number H on it, too.
Ah. Well, the dictionary's full of H words. Who knows how much damage that'll do?
Who knows?
Shelley starts to follow the books.
All right. Wally, it's at this point, after you finish making these inspections and quelling the now riling horses that turn back into their inanimate forms, and the chariot itself shrinks down to its golden form. You look over and you notice your party members staring at books and awkwardly staring at the ground and watching the books crawl away. And Jack is just standing beside you, scratching his head. I've never seen books crawl before.
Okay, so I will. Let me try to stuff the horses in the chariot into Kirby.
They slide in with ease.
Nice. And then I will turn around and investigate the immediate area to see if I can add anything to their observations on these weird crawly books. Does it seem magical? Do the books seem mechanical, as though they're somehow trying to refile themselves somewhere?
Go ahead and roll Arcana.
What? Okay. Oh boy. I hope we don't get in a fight anytime soon. Because even with my 7 boost to Arcana, that's an 8. I rolled a 1.
These books are doing something you've never seen other books do before. But you have seen other creatures that do have shape-shifting predatorial features to them. Some of them do have an imitating presence that they try to hide in, and do tend to have a false appearance. You are familiar with objects or creatures that would hide in this way.
What kind of behavior do we have going here? Is this like a trail of ants working their way across the floor, how they're moving, or Yeah, is it just like one at a time, trying to sneak out when nobody's looking, or
is it like a free for all with all the books just making a book rush for the exit?
yeah, or World War Z with the books, just like
David did a pretty good description of they were just inchworming their way out. Some of them
Inchworming
just
their
like
way.
crinkling up and then extending themselves, relaxing and tensing, and trying to caterpillar their way out.
so just very slowly. Okay, all right. But there's
Ginger pace,
purpose
they're
to it.
moving at about 5 feet per turn.
Whoa. Okay. Where do you think they're off to?
Laura, you hear off in the distance. Go ahead and roll perception.
Perception.
Oh, no, papers are here, but I had.
Oh, okay. Ooh, 16.
You hear off in the distance. The books ascending the staircase, thunking one after the other.
Going up the stairs. Okay.
Oh, retrieving books.
Seriously, they're supposed to be literature, and now they're going to start exercising?
I guess Laura follows Shotley's lead because he's already kind of trailing along behind him. So she's careful not to step on any of them.
Cholet, since you are leading this endeavor, go ahead and roll initiative.
The books will replace us all. They don't need us
That would be
anymore.
14.
What was that roll?
14.
Get it, son? You brought the good dice. Okay.
You did.
We
I
get
just
in the
switched.
fight. I'm just going to stand behind Chotley.
I just switched my dice to my other set, and like I ran out of luck on the other ones tonight.
Clearly. Well, Cholet, as you approach and as you trail behind these creatures, these books, you recognize them as mimics. Mimics are shape-shifting predators able to take on the form of inanimate objects to lure creatures to their doom. In dungeons, these cunning creatures most often take the form of doors and chests, having learned that such forms attract a steady stream of prey. However, you notice that these mimics have taken the form of books. Mimics can alter their outward texture to resemble wood, stone, and other basic materials, and they have evolved to assume the appearance of objects that other creatures are likely to come in contact with. A mimic, in its altered form, is nearly unrecognizable until potential prey blunders into its reach, whereupon the monster sprouts pseudopods and attacks. Which is what they do. Charlotte, you follow this trail, nimbly dipping and dodging some of the other overhanging furniture, nimbly scrambling around tables and trying not to disturb too much. But as you're trailing behind them, you notice that they start to congregate in one large area. A huge pile of books forms in front of you at the top of the stairs, about 30 feet out in front of you. And you notice that they start to sort of swirl together, and you see in certain points a purple hue flashes for a moment, and they start to combine and start to sprout these pseudopods, these tentacles and teeth, different extremities that start to fall out from it, and you see 4 sets of eyes appear.
Huh.
How far
I
behind him are the rest of us?
Behind him, you all are at the bottom of the stairs. Laura is the first one starting to take the trail up the stairs. The stairs ascend 40 feet up, so you're about 6 squares behind him, with Laura 1 square. There's 2 squares closer than you.
Can I hear anything from the bottom of the stairs?
You hear all of the
Or
books
top of the stairs? Sorry.
inching up. So you are at the bottom of the stairs. You hear them start to dry, cracked spines of books creaking the entire way as they ascend, and you do see small flashes of purple light at the top. You don't hear anything from them yet. Cholet, you do though. You hear them, and at the flash of each purple light, you do hear a crack of thunder. Just as the creature starts to form itself.
I want to get my daggers out and ready.
All right, you arm yourselves. You look back, and at this point, you see Laura ascending with torch in hand. I imagine you put your torch away.
Yes.
Wally, you are behind Laura. David, and then Jack. Jack is at the back. You all ascend, and you start to see, just reaching past each other, poking your head out, trying to see. David, you're lucky you're tall because you're able to see over everyone else.
Yeah, I don't have to try to like get around anyone.
All right. So, for those that can see the stream, these are book mimics. Your worst nemesis, huh, Laura? Yes, yes. Not your books. You like the apple one? That's pretty good. All right. So, we've got Shotley's roll already for initiative. Let's get everybody else to roll as well.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap is right. 3.
24.
Oh!
Initiative
first
just
good
determines
roll
the
of the
order
night.
in which you die. So if you roll low, hopefully you die low.
I just used my only good roll of the night on initiative.
I don't know. You may just be getting the good rolls now.
David,
Or
what's
I
your
may
roll?
just bank all of my points and go last instead.
David rolled a 3.
Oof. Okay. Well, make sure everybody consults their character sheet to make sure they know how many ability points they get at the start of their turn. We will lead with yours is in front of us.
Oh, okay.
If you want it, you can have it. That doesn't list any of your stats. It just lists your spells. That's why
Okay.
pages. All right. So, gentlemen, we have an initiative order with a lady present as well. This is a wife. We will start with Shotley first, since you have been carefully stalking your prey before you go. You do also have some crucial class features that you can choose to use here as well, if you so choose.
Okay.
Do you know how many points you start with?
I do. I start with 19.
Correct.
You know,
What you gonna do, boy?
in spite of my attitude about fire, I'm not super jazzed about the idea of burning books.
I want to judge the distance between the mimic and our party.
You suspect that the entity in front of you, the mimic, was previously 30 feet in front of you, but is rapidly swelling in size. It is now occupying at least 2 squares and is 25 feet away. It is a swarm of book mimics.
Oh boy.
And I've already put my torch away. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and throw my dagger.
Alright, go ahead and make a ranged attack. And make sure you add your dexterity and your weapon proficiency modifier.
Plus my dexterity will be 6 plus that. That will be dirty 20.
Nice. Alright. That does hit, so go ahead and roll damage. So you expend 5 points. Huck your dagger. It flies end over end, impaling a book down into the ground, into the heart of the large mimic swarm.
What is my dagger hit dice?
It is a 1d4 plus your dexterity modifier.
This is horrible. I can't see the D4 in the shot class. That's going to be a 3. So that's going to be 7. 3 plus 4 is.
7.
So-
Yes.
There you go.
I appreciate you double checking. Thank you. Let me grab some of my dice as well this time. Okay. Laura, do you want to make a Constitution saving throw for the minute?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll take that one. It has +2 to Constitution for all the time. Cholet, did you apply your sneak attack damage?
I did not. I heard you start talking, so I didn't roll it yet.
No worries. Also,
I didn't know if this was a stab and then something happens kind of deal, you know.
no worries. We'll make sure you do all of your damage before we describe some
Got it.
repercussions.
All right, so
Also,
that's
starting
gonna.
at 3rd level, you do have advantage on any attack rolls on creatures that haven't taken a turn in combat yet.
Okay.
In addition,
I can re-roll again. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Just-
If you check your current class status under the assassinate feature that's listed there. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. So you automatically hit. And
Okay.
critical.
Yes, I re-rolled again. That was not a crit, but you did say since it is a 3rd level, then it is a crit.
Correct.
Okay.
So you have your 1d4 plus 3, so 7 plus your d4, which would then make it 8 plus your sneak attack damage. So what's your sneak attack damage, sir?
Sneak attack damage is 2d6. First one will be a 6.
So at 5th level, it's 3d6.
Oh, I'm 5th level already?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not notice that. My bad. All right. Sorry. So that's okay. So I got 1 6 so far. 4. It's going to be a 10. And a 1. It's going to be 11. So plus 11 damage.
All right. So in total, you dealt with the combined efforts of the critical for all the dice, 37 points of damage. With
Sweet.
one dagger. Which is a critical for the dagger itself. You deal the maximum damage at 4, plus your 1d4, and you rolled a 1, so that's 5, plus your dexterity modifier of 3, gives you 8, plus your sneak attack damage, maximum of 18, plus the 3d6 you rolled. 6, 4, and 1 makes 37 total.
Okay.
You alright?
Yeah. I rolled a 3 for my dagger.
Ah.
Yeah.
So then,
So it's a 1d4 plus 4, correct?
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So that's 39 points of damage. Well done.
thank you.
You notice that this does expose you, though, as you quickly lash out with your attack, impaling parts of the books to the large abscess that is the monster's torso and general chest cavity. You pierce it, and it lets out a shriek. And it also slightly sounds like the tearing of paper as well.
The tearing of paper?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, I want to look back and see if everybody heard it scream and kind of acknowledges that the monster is there and that it is injured.
You get several nods back from the party behind you. A little bit confused of what you're throwing daggers at, but a couple of nods and a lot of wide eyes.
At this point,
guns at you.
at this point, I want to look at the room and see if there's what the layout is.
All right, it is a very narrow corridor. It's 20 feet in width and extends well past your range of view. You suspect it leads at least 80 feet further. There are 2 doors, one on each side, one on your left and one on your right, that do extend out into some of the living areas that are there. However, all you see is the very narrow 20-foot wide hallway in front of you.
I'm going to go ahead and throw my other one.
Go ahead and throw your attack.
That will be a 9 plus dexterity and proficiency, which is 7. That's what I'm adding, right? 7.
Correct.
7 to hit. That's going to be a 16.
Ooh, that hits.
Yep.
Alright, go ahead and roll damage again. You do not get to add sneak attack damage to this attack, though.
1d4. That will be a 1. So 1 plus 4 will be 5.
Fantastic. You deal 5 points of damage with this one. You notice that now that the monster has seen you and noticed you, this attack didn't deal quite the piercing blow, but you did manage to throw it as it singes some of the books and cuts some of the spines on it. You see a couple of the sets of eyes now focus on you. Laura, what color are the eyes?
Purple.
They have purple, bright, piercing purple eyes. 2 sets of them lock on you. They're oddly familiar to you. They have no pupil to them and are completely glazed over, but you feel you've seen some sets of eyes like this look at you before.
At this point, I am going to bank the rest of my points
Alright, so you banked your 9 points.
and just kind of keep an eye out on it and just waiting for any kind of reaction that I have to do or that kind of stuff.
Alright. It goes from Cholet to Wally.
Charging up the rest of the stairs so that I can get an eye line on whatever it is that Chotley just hucked his knives at.
Okay. So you use 4 points of movement to push past your allies and ascend the stairs onto the flat area in front of you. You have 15 points.
And I look down the hallway and see.
A huge swirling mass of purple energy coalescing all of these books into some sort of monstrous creature. It has what appears to be cephalopods and tentacles and teeth starting to form as it swirls and takes shape.
Is it combining itself Voltron style into a mega creature, or is it still just a swarm of smaller creatures?
So far, you gather that since there are 4 sets of eyes on it, 2 of them staring daggers over at Cholet, since he threw daggers at them, you suspect it's forming some sort of large creature.
Okay.
And it probably seeks revenge against Cholet.
Okay.
I do love that this says by Mage Fan Press.
What else is in the hallway? Like, is it wallpapered? Is it painted? What kind of room are we in here?
On the left and right hand sides, you notice that there are very decorative pieces of art lining the walls. They have themselves golden frames and a huge vaulted ceiling above. The walls themselves do appear to be painted as well. What color of paint do they have, Laura?
Tan.
They are a tan color.
Yeah. Okay, this time I'm gonna take my cue from Chotley, and I'm gonna keep things low key and no fire at all. I'm just gonna huck my hammer as hard as I can. And being tiny and with the eyes being fixated on Chotley, I'm hoping this will also allow me my sneak attack bonus as well. But,
all right. Before you make your attack, go ahead and roll stealth. I should have asked you to start with that.
yeah, poking my head around the corner. Okay. Oh snap. Okay, let's keep this streak alive. That's gonna be a 30, sir.
All right.
It's 2 20s in a row. I'll take it.
You manage to nimbly ascend the stairs, not even making a single footfall, and not even tripping over any of the books nearby that are at your feet. You glance over and notice the heap of monster that is there, and you hurl your hammer. Go ahead and roll your attack, sir.
I'm gonna aim for one of the pairs of eyes locked on to Chotley.
Go for it.
Just try and square up on him. All right, so rolling to hit here for that. And that's gonna be where's it? +7 to hit on a ranged for that one. Sorry, let me get back to my character page.
It's all good. I'm going to turn off the screen for just a sec.
Good. Oh. Reload that shit. Not wanting to let me access the other pages, but I'm pretty sure it's a +7 to hit, which would make that a 19.
correct. So you do have the +7 to hit. Your dexterity modifier being the +4, and your proficiency bonus being the +3.
Okay, cool.
All right. Let me return back. Continue the stream. Right.
Aha.
So what was the total again?
It was a 19
19.
to hit.
This does hit. Go ahead and roll your damage, and please roll your sneak attack damage as
Okay.
well.
Equipment.
So for your hammer, it's a 1d4, and your sneak attack damage is 3d6 as well.
Okay.
However, since you are not an assassin like Shuttley, you do not automatically crit.
I do not have what?
Since you are an arcane trickster and not an assassin like Shuttley, you do not automatically critical.
Okay. So that's a 9.
All right. You strike the book, your hammer dealing a whopping 9 points of bludgeoning damage. You hear a large clack and closing of the book as it then locates you and focuses 2 eyes on you as well. You have 8 points remaining.
All right. Pull back the hammer and yeah, let's launch it again.
All right, Shutley, go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw. And Wally, please make a strength saving throw.
Dexterity is just your straight modifier, correct?
On your character sheet, in the upper left-hand corner, it shows strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Those are your saving throws.
Oh, the one next to the right, sorry. That will be 23.
16.
Right. You nimbly dodge. Your hammer, Wally, catches on one of the edges of a book as it's tumbling and doesn't fly straight back to you in the typical regular fashion. Instead, tumbles end over end, and you luckily softball field that grounder and pick it up easily.
All right. And then we'll wind up and slam that thing into it again.
All right, go ahead and make your ranged attack.
Whew. That is a 27 to hit, sir. That's my third 20 of the night. We're going to roll this. I'm glad I got those 1s and 2s out of the way early.
Absolutely. So what's your damage, Wally?
Oh, snap. It's not sneak attack this time, so it's just 3 points plus my modifier, which is 3 plus 5, I think.
Your dexterity modifier is your +4, sir.
Plus 4, okay. So 7 points.
Fantastic.
Oh, I forgot to add in that +4 last time, but whatever.
All right, that expends another 5 points from you. And you have 1 point remaining.
I'm going to bank it just in case.
All right, your hammer's still laying at the feet of this monster. Your hammer, as you huck it, closing another one of the book-like faces that it has, being facets of its monstrous corporeal form, it thwacks and shuts it. You notice these eyes now flare a bright red hue around their purple sockets, and they glare both at you and Sholay. It's at this point Jack goes. Jack steps up, pushes past the two of you, and a big show of force pops out his chest, points over at the books, and says, "Later!" And he shoots out a lightning bolt at it. Make a dexterity saving throw for the books. The books fail. And he's going to roll his damage for it, which is the 66.
For the record, Laura, I tried to save those books.
He deals a whopping 19 points of damage and ignites some of the books on fire. They steam up with a hiss. You see that the lightning itself strikes some of the books' covers, reflecting and shocking on some of the metallic portions of the books themselves as they catch on the edge, and ricochets inside of it and into the central structure and mouth of this creature. And it lets out a big burp as a bit of steam comes out the top. That ends Jack's turn. David, you're up.
All right. David would like to pull out the hammer from the backpack.
All right, you whip it out, spending 1 point to arm yourself.
And
You're on deck.
David would just, smacky smacky on the book pile. He's heard the phrase, sometimes you gotta hit the books, and he's like, well, there's books, I gotta hit them. I've heard you do this sometimes.
Yeah, Hell Week, Finals Week, all of it, you just gotta hit the books.
So he's like, I gotta hit the books, man.
Here we are in a giant library. What
This
else
is
are you
what-
gonna do?
This is what I've been training for, apparently. I gotta hit the books now.
You do quickly continue 5 spaces forward, expending 5 points. With 20 points remaining, now in melee range of the books. You end up stomping on a couple as you go forward. Go ahead and make a melee attack, just with your foot.
That's a d20 for the...
D20 plus your strength modifier.
Splat.
Ooh, okay, now we got the good rolls. That's gonna be a 24.
Yeah.
As you manage to walk past, you just absent-mindedly hear as you step on a couple, dealing 4 points of damage.
Ooh.
Alright, you are now in melee range with the creature. What you gonna do? You
Sorry,
notice it didn't even see you coming. It has just fixated so much on the entities behind you as you approach.
Huh.
Let's hope that wasn't a first edition.
I hope so. David would just go to town with the hammer. Just smack, smack, smack.
Alright. So go ahead and make your melee attack, David. I noticed you didn't choose to rage. Is there a reason?
Because I only get 3 rages, I believe. And I used 2 of them in the bus.
Correct.
So, I don't feel like this is a big enough fight to warrant my final rage.
Or the last fight of the day.
True,
Yeah.
true. With how most
So-
dungeon crawls go for you guys.
Yeah, so David's gonna ration out that final rage. He's gonna wait for the big boss. Not this pile of screamy books.
Alright, go ahead and make your melee attacks.
So yeah, that's just what I rolled plus my strength mod.
Plus your proficiency one, so it'll be a +7 to the hit.
Ooh, that's gonna be 17.
Alright, that hits. Go ahead and roll your damage. It should be. Are you wielding this one-handed or two-handed?
Two-handed, because I really want to hit the books.
Okay, that is a 1d10, my friend.
1d10. Alright, that one's the 10.
Make those books feel it.
Make sure you hit it right in the spine.
Well, that was a 9.
Nice, nice.
That was a 9 that I rolled.
Oh. Okay, so make sure you add your strength modifier to your damage as well.
So that would be a 13 then.
Okay. You deal a whopping 13 points of damage. As it starts to coagulate into this form, these books rolling past each other, spiraling around, forming a large central creature. Its mouth still agape and pouring smoke out from inside. You manage to whack it, hand over hand, over the top of your head, straight down on it, closing its mouth shut, biting its tongue, snapping off the appendage. It falls to the floor with a thwart, and it spits out small bits of purple ichor. You hear it howl in pain as well. Laura, what's it sound like when it howls in pain? Ouch! Ouch! Which sounds a little weird because it doesn't have a tongue. So. It echoes down the hall. Shotley, since you had some baked up points, and Wally, since you banked up points as well, would you both please roll a perception check?
Here we go. Okay. That's a 9.
That will be a 15.
All right, Wally, you do hear a surprising echo throughout the chamber as the yell propagates to the hall. It does go all the way to the other end before it reverberates back to you, and you see a single torch light up on the other side, just past the darkness over there.
Oh
And
boy.
Shotley, with your keen eye, you do notice that there's a silhouette in the figures that are there, some that you had already previously faced as well. You see that it does have a large humanoid torso and leg structure. The legs are slightly bowed outwards and have hoof-like features at the feet. The torso itself is big and brawny, muscular, biceps for days. The head isn't quite humanoid. It does have more of animalistic features to it, and it does have two bull horns sticking out the top. I believe you recognize this creature.
Is it? Yes.
Do you recognize
Is it-
this creature?
I think I do. Is it Alistar?
It's very similar.
Is it the Sage or what was the name?
You were right with the structure and character icon that you referenced for League of Legends. It is the Minotaur that you previously fought with.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So you do know that in particular this area so far has shown a lot of Greek and Roman influences, but not any legend influences.
Okay.
So you do see it carrying a torch and in its offhand as it's continuing to pace around in the darkness. You do see it carry a very long, thin-handled great axe with it.
Okay.
All right. So that'll expend 1 point from both of you. And we continue with David. David, you have 20 points remaining.
I thought I had 20 points before I did the one attack.
You had 26. You used 5 to get close. Oh,
And I
you're
used
correct.
I used 1 to pull the hammer out, 5 to get closer, and then I swung. So I should be
You have
15 or so.
Yes.
I would like to do 2 more double-handed smacks on the book mimic.
All right. Go ahead and roll 2 attacks.
So that'd be strength plus proficiency. That would be a 16.
All right. 16 does hit. Go ahead and roll damage. Or actually, go ahead and roll both of your attacks first.
Yeah. That's going to be a 12.
That just barely hits. So go ahead
Okay.
and roll 2d10.
So yeah, it's the D10 plus the strength model only.
It's going to be 2d10 plus your strength modifier twice. So
Okay.
2d10 plus 8.
So that's got a 6 that I rolled, and then I rolled a 10. So that would be
24.
yeah, that number.
Fantastic. With this one, you notice that your blunt instrument starts to cleave through sections of this book. You whack it going from left to right this time in a typical baseball swing. You didn't realize how ambidextrous you were, because you lead with the left side and then follow up with the right-hand side, using your backhand and forehand in thick, nimble swings. Thwack, thwack, landing and cleaving off sections of the book swarm as you go. You notice that while you are dealing damage to it and hurting this creature, your blunt trauma that you're imposing onto it isn't quite having the effect you would have expected it to. You're dispersing some of the areas and cleaving it and splitting it open, and it is reforming and still coagulating more books into the area, still growing in size.
Oh, so the more, even though I'm smacking books off of it, it's gaining more books than I'm smacking off?
that you've seen so far.
Okay.
You have 5 points remaining.
I would like to back away to get some distance between it and me.
All right. How far do you back?
How far can I go back?
If you do leave melee range with the creature, it will have an attack of opportunity against you. And you can choose to proceed up to 5 squares backwards if you wish, 25 feet.
Could I go 3 squares back?
All right. You expend 3 points, leaving yourself with 2 points remaining, and you take an attack of opportunity. Laura, do you want to roll an attack of opportunity? All right. So that is going to be a 15 against your armor class, David.
It hits.
All right.
Just barely.
That, it attacks you with one of its many pseudopods, the book-like structures that extend from the central torso. It deals a whopping 7 points of bludgeoning damage against you as it beats you as it's going.
Ow.
And you notice that while it hits you, it has a sort of sticky-like texture. You know that it is an adhesive that is typically used to bind these books, and the mimic adheres to anything that it touches. A huge or smaller creature adhered to the mimic is also grappled by it. So, David, I need you to make a strength check, please.
Okay, I just rolled a 19. Do I add my +4, or is it a saving throw or anything?
It would be a +4. So you
Then that
break
would...
the grapple, knocking off the books that are trying to adhere to you, and you take the 7 points of damage. So I will add that to your current status, putting it at 26 HP. And you are leaving its melee range and traversing another 10 feet beyond, closer to your friends behind.
Yes. And that's all I want to do. I want to bank the remaining points that I have.
All right, you bank your 2 remaining points. Laura,
Yes.
you're up.
Laura looks around to see if there are still books coming up the stairs to join the bigger book creature, or if it's already amassed all of its books.
You hear more books crawling and plomping their way up behind you. You notice that the mass itself, as it's been receiving trauma from your allies, has been shifting and breaking up into pieces and still reforming.
Okay.
You also notice off in the distance a minotaur-like figure appear down the hall. Via torchlight, you see its shadow pressed against the wall, which is at least another 80 feet out.
Okay, I'll leave that for right now. Just ignore that. Laura looks around to see if there's anything she can use to try to keep the littler books from joining the big book creature, like a candlestick.
I would recommend you consult your inventory.
Okay. Where is that?
On page 2, does show your equipment. Also under your equipment tab here, does show your equipment. That has more. So you have some rope. The area is pretty sparse. It is a very open hallway that has art decor on the walls, the tan walls themselves having nothing but paintings affixed to it.
Right.
They are about 5 feet by 10 feet tall.
Okay. Can Laura go back to the private library and grab a chair?
Sure. You can descend the staircase and head off to the library.
Okay.
The library is another 40 feet behind you. You would need to descend the staircase to do so. So you do start with 17 points,
Okay.
and 5 feet is 1 point. So descending the stairway behind you is going to be 5 points.
Right.
And then to cross to the library itself would be 8 points as well, so 13 points total.
Okay, so she wouldn't make it there.
And be able to do something there.
Let me check again.
You do have a spell book if
I
you wish to
do.
use it, and you do have
Well,
a
I
number of spells.
don't know how to use those or anything like that.
I recommend you look at a spell that sounds cool and say cast that.
Okay, cool. I will do that then.
Which is why I told you.
This one.
Well, why don't you say that?
Yes. Inflict wounds.
Okay. So the
Ooh.
Influence spell. Seeing as you are a cleric, you do have spell casting innately as a feature to your class.
Mm-hmm.
The Inflict Wounds spell in particular is a melee spell attack, so you need to get close enough to touch it if you wanted to cast it. You make a melee spell attack against the creature, and if you hit, you deal 3d10 necrotic damage. You do recognize a link between the books that are crawling below you and the larger swarm that's in front of you that you could touch if you would rather, instead of going up and trying to grope the large monster.
Right, okay.
Oh, snap. She's gonna Tom Riddle's diary this shit.
Okay, so Laura casts inflict wounds on the nearest little
Inchworm book.
Yes, the nearest little crawly book.
Alright, make a dexterity.
Do you glance at the title and choose a specific book, or do you just grab one of them?
The one that looks the least valuable fits.
Nice.
Okay, so go ahead and make a sleight of hand check. Yes, it's a d20, not your dexterity modifier.
What numbers?
It is.
11
Plus 2 for your sleight of hand.
13.
That'll be a 13.
Yes.
A 13 does enable you to catch one of the little inchworm books that are creeping by. You reach out, grip it, and you inflict wounds. So go ahead and roll 3d10.
Dun 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 dun.
These are d10.
3 apiece.
That's the second roll. That's a 13 so far. And then one more. Oh, that's a 10. Nice job.
Oh, and a 10.
So you deal 23 points of necrotic damage. You grip the book in front of you. You reach down. After it tries to wiggle its way out of your grasp, you wrap your fingers around it. Normally, you're quite familiar with holding books. Normally, they don't wiggle in your hands as you try to read them or open them. You grip it and you think and convey the idea of inflicting and casting your spell instantaneously like that on the book itself. Your grip tightens on it for a moment as your necrotic energy pours out of you into the book, and you grip it hard and squeeze it as it withers away in your hands. The slug itself deteriorating into dust.
Dang.
Laura's hardcore.
Laura's also
She really does not like Amelia Dickinson.
David needs to remember not to make Laura mad.
What else to do? So that was a level 1 necromancy spell that you cast for 5 points. If you want, you can choose to cast another spell of level 1, or you maybe use a cantrip or move over and punch somebody or something. You can do whatever you want.
So I have 12
points.
more points.
What kind of cantrips does she have? I'm very curious.
Which ones are those?
They say cantrips up.
They're also the ones that you can use an infinite number of times, pretty much.
Yes.
As opposed to your spells, I think you get like 3 or 4. I don't know, at your level you might get like 5, but at a certain point you'll be out of them until you recharge.
So you would have a number of spell slots available to you. At your current level, you have 4 level 1 spell slots, 3 level 2 spell slots, and 2 level 3 spell slots, descending 4, 3, 2 per second. These are your first, these are your second, these are your third levels.
What if I want
She's
to
gonna
do this?
hurt some fools.
Command. Well, the command spell is going to require you to speak to the creature itself.
Okay.
And you will be issuing a command to it. So what command do you issue to this creature?
Stop attacking Yes.
Okay. So,
She's gonna make them refile themselves.
you speak a one-word command to a creature you can see within range. Then the target makes a wisdom saving throw or follows your command on a failure. It also must speak the language you speak to for it to be able to understand. So, what is your one-word command that you use?
I get one word.
They have examples listed: approach, prowl, flee, grovel, hold. You may also choose like stop, sleep, sort of things.
Right.
Disperse.
Leave,
Chamomile.
king.
Or
No.
you could just call upon the father of library science, Dewey! And all the books just put themselves back on the shelves obediently.
What is
Can't
your
argue with that,
one-word
sure.
command?
I guess she'll try to. I guess she'll say revert.
Okay. So I will let you make the wisdom saving throw for the creature. So take a d20. Alright. It is against your spell save DC, which is on your central page. Your spell save DC is an 11 here.
Okay.
So you roll a 10 plus 1, that's an 11. You succeed in commanding the creature. You command it with the command word revert, implying that you want it to change back to its previous shape.
Hopefully. Yes.
You notice that the creature locks all four sets of eyes onto you, flares with this bright purple and pinkish hue, and then as you inflict your will towards it, the eyes change to a grayish color, as if it obeys your command. Gray being, since your daughter Hades, a reflective color of your spellcasting. You notice that your spell takes hold and grips onto it, and the inchworms that are crawling towards this larger mimic stop. And the creature itself looks over at you, goes unable to revert back into its previous shape, but stops forming further. That expends 10 points. You have 7 points remaining. You choose again.
No, I'll bank the rest.
Alright. So, bank 7 points. It now goes to the large mimic swarm's turn.
Oh boy.
The mimic swarm has a much faster speed than the previous inchworms that were inching by. It's going to take note of those that have inflicted damage to it and try to use its cunning hunter powers to try to attack anybody else that is nearby. Noticing that David is the closest to it, it will approach and close the 15-foot distance between the two of you and envelop the square that you're in and try to make a grappling check against you. This is a contested check, so David, go ahead and roll a d20 and add your strength modifier. You're going to be adding a +5. So you rolled a 19 total. David, what did you roll?
David rolled a 20, and with the +4 gives David the 24.
Alright. The book swarm starts to envelop and swirl around you. The large central mass and hulking portion of this creature goes within 5-foot range of you, and the inchworms start to swirl around you and crawl up your legs. You are able to bat them aside and push them off of you as the creature tries to envelop you and tangle you up in a grapple. Seeing that this fails, it makes a melee bite attack against your armor class. It's going to use a d20. It has a +5 to hit as well. Does 16 hit?
16 does hit.
Alright, so it deals 7 points of piercing damage and 1d8 acid damage, so 4 points of damage total for it, which makes it 11 HP damage. Which puts you at a total of 15 HP damage.
Yeah, David's gonna need to have some snacks pretty dang soon.
The swarm continues past enveloping David and continues further towards the remaining allies and starts to attack Jack as well. The small inchworms have a much lower bonus to hit, but are going to try to hit his AC. They roll a 16, that hits. They deal 7 points of damage to Jack as well. And that ends the Mimic's turn. We then go to Wally.
Oh boy. Okay,
You
so
start your turn with 24 points.
the Mimic's advance has placed it directly on top of my hammer. I'm going to look at Laura and kind of sadly shake my head and say, "Sorry, lass, I did try." And then I'm going to turn back towards the pile of books, thrust a hand out, and will my hammer to heat up as if I were going to cast my fire mote cantrip. And I'm going to have my hammer burn a hole through this thing as it attempts to return to me.
Alright, so you expend 5 points igniting the hammer. Go ahead and roll 2d4 for fire damage to the books. It does have
Alrighty.
vulnerability to fire.
4 total.
Alright, dealing a whopping 8 points of damage. You notice that some of the books rip open, tear, fly, and get cast asunder as the hammer ignites, burning with a red-hot color as it then flies and transcends the distance to your hand. Go ahead and make your strength saving throw
Strength, huh?
to catch your hammer, yes.
Alright, 13.
Alright, you catch it with ease. Wham! Straight into the palm of your hand. You have 19 points remaining.
I am now going to...
Your hammer is also now red hot.
I'm going to point it towards the pile of books in the hallway, aim for center mass, and fire off another fire mote cantrip.
Alright, go ahead and make your spell attack.
Which is going to be that plus my spell attack mod, which is a 7, so that is an 18.
Alright. 18 does hit.
And the damage for the fire was 2d4, you said?
That was when it was ignited. Your fire bolt evocation cantrip deals 1d10 fire damage.
Always. Okay, let's see here. Oh, come on. That's a 1.
Okay. It is susceptible to fire and does get caught on fire as well. You deal 2 points of damage. David,
Yes?
seeing as there is a swarm of books trying to envelop you and grapple you, you are immediately caught inside this large tornado of swirling fire. You're very lucky you're immune to fire right about. Wally, your firebolt does also have a somatic component and a verbal component as well. What does it look like when you cast your spell?
I mean, he just sort of thrusts the hammer towards what he's going to cast the fire on. And let's see. This time his catchphrase would have been like, "Time for a book barbecue." And then it would have been a 1 point of damage, incredibly underwhelming book barbecue. He's not happy about it. He's very sad about it.
All right.
He didn't want to burn the books, man. He's made that very clear. He apologized to Laura about it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're not sitting there squashing the little inchworms with your hammer as it goes. You're clearly trying. You suspect that most of the books that are here that are forming this creature weren't originally books. Some are, but most weren't.
Yeah, that's
Mimics are creatures that then compose themselves to look like other items or articles. So you suspect that maybe it was a creature all along and disguised itself in the library, or maybe it started to harvest pages out of other books to then gain sentiency and animate itself. It's a little unclear, but now it's on fire, so it's even less clear now.
Well, as it is advancing and as things on the other side of it seem to be advancing, I will begin backing away from it. Just enough to get the stairwell in sight so that I can see whether or not we're being flanked.
Okay, so do you back up a step so you're able to see behind you?
Well, I wasn't in melee range anyways, was I? I was still
No.
a ways back when I threw the hammer, right?
you've been a ways back, but you had ascended into the second story. So do you back up closer towards the staircase?
Still upstairs, just with the stairwell in view so that I can see here if I up it.
Okay, so you angle yourself so that you're able to see both, just in case.
Okay, fantastic. I didn't realize I was already there.
And you have 13 points remaining.
How far away is the advancing book pile?
It is within 15 feet of you.
Oh, snap. That thing's moving fast.
You notice that David was 10 feet in front of you as well, and the initial pile started another 10 feet beyond that. So it has covered roughly 15 feet in the meantime. There's still Jack and David between you and the center mass of the monster.
Jack and David are engulfed by the monster.
Correct. You are
They're
also
not currently
slightly
visible,
off-center,
right?
so you're able to cast past them if you wish.
Okay. So the books are on fire, right?
Yes. The majority of the monster itself is caught on fire.
Oh boy.
The swarm that is attacking Jack is not on fire.
Okay. So can I use absorb element to pull the fire off of the books and restore hit points? Oh no, I'm full. It hasn't hit me yet. Never mind. Yeah, I'm just gonna bank the rest in case it gets to me and I need to defend myself.
All right. So you bank your 13 points, readying in a melee attack in case it approaches you, yourself trying to batter off any of these slugworms or books that come at you. It goes from Wally over to Shotley. Shotley, what do you do?
I want to look over at the mimic.
You see that it is currently in melee range with David, trying to swarm him and grapple him, making several bite attacks. You notice that the smaller swarm is slightly past that, enveloping Jack.
I'm going to go ahead and pull David.
All right. David, go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw.
That's going to be an 11.
All right. Your stomach drops out from under you as you suddenly feel weightlessness. Your fingers and hands and torso and feet and legs all dissolve into a golden dust as your body and sentiency gets drawn from the square you were in towards Shotley at a rapid pace. Shotley, contrary to past events, you are now able to cast him out if you wish. So you expend 1 point to take into you and 5 points to cast him if you wish.
Okay. I attempt to speak to David with my mind.
Okay, you telepathically communicate. What do you communicate?
It looked a little swarm there, buddy, so I thought I'd even out the playing field.
Thank you. I do appreciate getting pulled out of the books. They were a little painful.
It's all right. It's the time I read the dictionary. I bit off a little bit more I could chew. At this point, I will pull out my bone bow.
All right. You expend a point to arming yourself.
Notch in a, I believe it was celestial bronze, or
they are celestial bronze tipped arrows.
Okay, I can't remember if it was celestial bronze or if it was the other one.
You could choose Imperial Gold, but you don't have the Imperial Gold tipped arrows yet.
Or the last one. Sorry, there's another one.
Iron?
Yeah, I don't remember which the tips were.
So far, you've only encountered celestial bronze.
Okay. Notch in a bronze arrow and take aim at the mimic.
All right. So go ahead and roll your 2d8.
All right, first D8 with my new dice. Oh, forgot my D4 was in there. I was like, I'm missing a D4. That will be a 2. Plus 5. That will be a 7.
7 total.
Total. 7 total.
Okay. So you'll add that 7 to your modifier to hit when you roll for your attack, which will give you a plus 14 to hit.
26.
All right. That does hit. You do also sustain 7 points of damage, setting your current HP to 33. And you do get to add your plus 7 to damage as well. So go ahead and roll damage with your bow. It is 1d8 plus your dexterity modifier plus 7.
1. Plus my dexterity modifier will be a whopping. That'll be a 5. So that's going to be a 12. So 1 plus 7 plus 4 is a 12.
Okay, so you do 12 points of necrotic damage to this book. You draw your arrow back, notching it, feeling the blood flow from your palms into the bow itself, filling the sigils that are carved into it. The runic surface glows with the bright golden dust that flows through your veins. You release the arrow, it flies, impacts straight into the center cavity of the books, and you notice that you pierce one of the 8 eyes that are there as it withers and sputters, emitting a black plume of smoke coming out the top. You now have 20 points remaining.
I want to observe where the other eyes are looking at of the mimic.
The eyes were previously transfixed on David, and now that he's gone, they seem to be cross-eyed, staring into space.
Okay.
Do you want to attack them as well?
No. I'm going to take a quick look behind and see how Jack's doing. I know he's being swarmed by the books.
You see Jack has almost like small leeches, these books crawling up his legs and just approaching waist high on him. They themselves have a piercing bite, and you see that he is also writhing in pain as if he is feeling some sort of internal bleeding or some sort of internal burn as well from the acid he took.
I'm just going to notch and hit the mimic again.
All right, go ahead and make your 2d8.
It's going to be 15. So 1 crit and a 7.
Nice. All right. I will disclose to you that the armor class of the mimic itself is 12. So you
All
already
right.
hit.
All
As
right.
long as you don't roll a 1.
Ooh, 5. So that's a hit.
All right.
I will
Go ahead and
be
roll damage.
my 1d8. 2. So that will be
2 plus your dex.
2 plus my dex, which is 4. That's a 6. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot what I rolled. Was that an 8? That was 15?
It was. So you deal a whopping 21 points of damage to it.
Okay.
This one, you notice, it starts to rotate and turn its direction towards Wally, who previously ignited it on fire. It's still being on fire. You now notice that you have the perfect opportune angle. You notch your arrow, fire it. This one pierces not 1 but 2 eyes. It lands through one into the other, and it spurts out some small purple pustule as it then riles back in pain. What does this ouch sound like, Laura?
The same.
It sounds identical?
Yes.
Screaming out in pain, starting to rile below. Cholet, you also sustain 15 points of damage as well. Which puts you at 18 points.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to go and throw David near Jack.
Okay.
Not so far like in range that he'll be affected by the knockup. Knowing previous battles that people have been knocked up around David, but just enough that he'll be able to quickly help him.
So you take aim and take heed, knowing the splash damage and area of effect of launching David like the cannonball he is. You take aim and fire him slightly off center from Jack, so that way he would appear off to his right-hand side and knock off some of the books that are approaching and crawling along him. David, go ahead and make a melee attack.
A melee attack?
Yes, it's going to be using your strength modifier and your proficiency modifier. So you're going to deal +7 to hit.
It's going to be a 13.
Alright, that hits. So go ahead and
Yee.
roll your 1d10 damage.
My 1d10 will be... Oh, that's a 9.
Nice. So your 9 plus your 4 is 13 points of damage. With this, you impact and send a shockwave emanating through the area. You notice as the carpeted area below you ripples, almost as if it is the sea floor around you as well. You notice that the leech-like textured books pop off of Jack nearby and fall to the floor and wither away, dissolving into golden dust. The large mimic creature in front of you yells out in pain again and starts to hobble away. It takes 5, 10, 15 feet of movement away from you guys, turning its back towards you and lumbering off. Cholet, you have 10 points remaining.
At this point, how far away is Jack from me?
Jack is 10 feet out in front of you.
I want to start helping him get the rest of the books off, because I see like he's getting munched on.
Alright, you close the distance and start to pat the books off of him. Go ahead and make a medicine check.
I don't want to roll that with my D8.
Roll a 3! No.
That's going to be medicine. It's going to be a straight 9.
Alright. You know that some of these creatures do have a very vicious bite. And you notice as you approach and start to peel off some of the sections that were there, they have acid burns along the edges of it from the internal stomach acid of this creature. They are very acidic and definitely appear to be quite harmful to human skin. You start to get the rest of them off and start trying to help patch up Jack as best you can. He puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "Thanks, bud. I think I'm good. You might want to help David."
I look over to David and check out his wounds.
David also suffered some wounds, some of them being not from this fight in particular, has some bruising and some what appears to be maybe a broken rib on his left-hand side, just above his waist. He's clutching it, looking a little haggard.
I turn over to Jack. You still have that, you still have some magic in you, right? Can you patch him up?
Yeah, I could do that, but I don't have much spells. I can try.
Or what about the oranges we picked up back at the market? I remember those are pretty good.
I didn't
Healing.
pick any of those up. I thought Wally did. I mean,
Yeah.
David also has a health potion.
Oh yeah. David, I don't want to be the odd man out, but I think this might be a good time to use it if you're feeling a little worse for wear. Obviously looking at his ribs and trying not to point out the fact that he's taken quite a beating.
Something's been chewing on you, sir.
Yeah. I've been getting chewed on. I have both chewed on and been chewed on today. I would like to use that health potion.
All right, 1 minute while I fetch it for you.
I don't know how I'm gonna roll that. I've seen what the dice are in there.
Oh, I think it's in there.
So, Laura, seeing as you are able to see it on our side, would you describe what David's health potion looks like as he pulls it out of his pack?
Exactly like this?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a glass bottle with a cork stopper with a red ribbon, and it says, "Have a sweet day" on the front.
David uncorks the top of it and pops it open.
Uriel!
Uriel? All right. David, do you take a swig?
Yes.
Okay. Will you please shake this up and dispose 2 into the dice tray? 2 dice.
Okay.
Just do your best to just get 2.
Aha!
All right. So, David, you expend 2 charges of this magical health potion, rolling 2d6 of the many different sizes of dice that are inside, and heal 11 points.
Wow.
Yeah, Laura rolls really well for you guys.
Thank you, Laura.
Anytime.
All right. Those will be permanent usages of the health potion. There are still roughly 15, maybe 16 other dice inside of there of varying sizes. D6s, 4s, 8s, 10s, a couple of 12s, and a couple of 20s in there as well.
Ooh.
So you notice with a brief swig, you heal up quite a lot. So maybe chugging it isn't the best idea, which is the first time in David's life he thinks that's a good idea and not chug something.
Yeah, for the first time ever, David's like, I should savor this.
Yes, please. But it's up to you how you wish to use your items. I will not discern that for you. With this encounter coming to a close, you notice that the monster itself starts lumbering away, still on fire, still trailing and dropping books as it's going. The creature wails out in pain again, and you notice at this one, the Minotaur's figure that was previously illuminated down the hall starts to increase in size as if it is approaching, and you hear the hoof prints gain both volume and frequency between each clomp as he's getting closer and closer to the hall.
Can I do any of these?
Laura chooses to act. What does Laura do?
Oh, I don't know.
So you are out of combat.
How far away? Can I try to see how far away the Minotaur shadow or Minotaur is?
So you peer down the hallway. You notice that there is a flat space that then splits off and forks in front of you, going left and going right.
Mm-hmm.
The shadow of the Minotaur is being cast from the right-hand side onto the wall in front of you. It is 80 feet away, and you do not have direct visual contact of the Minotaur approaching you.
Never mind then.
Okay. It's up to you what you choose to do. Since we are no longer in combat, anybody may choose to act in whatever way they wish while the Minotaur approaches. Wally and Shotle, please make a perception check.
Dirty 20.
18.
I'll be right back, but after my perception check, I also want to go. I'll wait for the perception check, but I want to go inspect the. Wait, the monster didn't die, right?
The monster did not die. It started
Alright.
to burn and leave this blood-like ichor staining the carpet, igniting the area, lumbering off.
All right, what's my perception?
You perceive that the monster itself is gaining velocity quite quickly. Wally, what did you roll?
18.
18. So we'll start with Wally since you rolled slightly lower. You suspect that the Minotaur itself is approaching from probably 20 feet beyond the 80-foot distance in front of you. And you suspect that it probably isn't alone. There was no sort of call sign or anything that it gave. It just heard the monster itself. So you don't know if it's alone or if it's part of a tribe or if it has several members that are here. You just know that this Minotaur, especially since you're familiar with them, might not be alone and might raise some sort of alarm if you're spotted. Cholet, with
Yes.
your keen perception, notice that the monster itself is increasing in size and the volume of its hoof prints are getting louder and louder. You hear its axe dragging along the ground, also making a tearing through parts of the carpet as it's going. It seems to be stumbling about. You notice that the size of the shadow that it's casting on the wall isn't just strictly getting larger and larger. It seems to be swaying left and right as well, as if it is gaining its footing and starting to slip and slide on the area as well, on this carpet. You suspect that maybe hoofs aren't best on carpeted floors.
Okay. At this point, I turn around and say, "Well, I suggest we might. I don't think we can fight. We can fight two fronts at the same time, but I mean, whatever you guys decide to do.
So,
I don't think.
you don't think?
I don't think that the best course of action would be to encounter the Minotaur and the Mimic at the same time.
Well, the Mimic's retreating, right?
So far.
And it's got, in order to continue retreating, it's going to have to go through the Minotaur, right?
That's what you perceive, yes.
Because it's still taking up the whole hallway, right?
Pardon?
It's still taking up the whole hallway, so there's no way for it to get anywhere without going through either us or them.
So the mimic is about 10 feet in diameter, consuming
it's smaller now.
the central area and the swarm that's around it. It doesn't occupy the whole hallway, but 80 feet out in front of you, it does split to left and right. It is on fire, illuminating the area and making a huge amount of noise, and could possibly be a keen distraction if you wanted to do something.
I mean, personally, I think the books have had enough. And if they want to go after some ground beef, that might actually help work to our benefit. Maybe sit back and let the Mimic decide whether or not the bull's friend or foe.
So Laura, David, Jack, and Cholet can feel free to chime in as well. Wally's having a conversation suggesting an action.
Yeah.
I mean, because Shotley doesn't seem too keen to continue this fight if it's going to be us against all of them, but it might not be. That thing doesn't exactly seem to have any sort of owner or master that it obeys aside from
its eternal hunger. Jack scratches his small facial hair and says, well, we could always It's loud enough and making a big enough ruckus we could just hide, couldn't we? There's a couple of doorways up ahead. We could try to sneak in through there and just duck and wait until one of them passes or kills the other.
I'll look over at Jolie. What do you reckon? Hide?
Seeing as Cholet stepped away for a moment, I will make the executive decision for Cholet. He probably suspects that hiding is the best route, seeing as an assassin would prefer stealth and getting the drop on his opponent.
David's also still feeling a little not so hot. David would prefer to hide.
Yeah, that potion was probably not tasty stuff. He's in the mood for some good food at this point, and then he'll be right as rain.
I mean, David's plan is let's hide, take a breather,
Find some towels.
and I'm gonna eat some a quick ambrosia snack. Let's get me feeling a little bit more better before going toe to toe with something big and spooky.
So, into which of the side rooms do we go?
So Laura would know that off to the left-hand side is going to be the mistress's hallway, and off to the mistress's dormitory, and the right-hand side is Mr. Hearst's dormitory.
Oh, snap.
Oh, okay.
Saucy.
So Laura, do you have any advice?
Well, Laura's upset about the books.
I did try.
Not the books.
Yes, you tried by setting them on fire.
That was the first
He
edition.
He did try to not set them on fire first, and that
And then once Lightning Boy came in and just set fire to them, I was like, all right, well, I guess we're all in it. Point.
Laura gestures towards Wally and asks, "Can I have that flashlight back?" Assuming
I never took it back from you. Is it not in your pocket or something?
Okay.
All of your spells you can cast one-handed.
Oh.
You just grip up one of the slugs and then strangled it to death with necrotic energy.
With the flashlight
Dropped
in
it
hand.
down and then pointed at the monster and said, "Roar," giving it your command. So yeah, you still have the torch in your
Okay.
offhand.
Okay,
So do you gesticulate? Do you advise?
good.
You wave it like a baton. Those guys used to direct planes at the airport.
air traffic control.
Traffic
And
control.
we're on the second floor already because we already did the stairs. Laura gestures towards the nearest door. We could probably hide in here.
So they're equidistant from you.
So
The
the
mistress or Hearst. There's
Hearst.
also the option of the staircase behind you. But it's up to you. You choose Hearst?
Hearsts, yeah.
Okay. So you walk over and try the doorknob. It is locked.
It's what now?
The door is locked.
Oh, well, nothing's ever locked. Wally walks up to the door and corrects that assumption.
All right. Oh, I guess it is locked.
No. Wally busts out his lockpick tools because he's been a thief for a very long time. That's how he's got all his best kit. So,
All right.
Kirby, can I have my lockpicks, please? My lockpicks, if you don't mind.
It spits out several long cylindrical metal rods with opal-colored handles. You receive your lockpicking tools.
Okay, it's been a while. Oh, I missed you. I immediately recognize the tools in my hands, go to the door in front of me, which I'm assuming is some sort of ornate, old school, big gold door handle, ostentatious as all fuck, and therefore all the easier to crack because it's made for a key the size of a dinner plate. So, yeah,
Naturally.
Wally grabs his lockpicks, looks at it, chuckles to himself, and sets about dismantling what's probably the easiest lock he's ever worked on.
All right. Go ahead and make your sleight of hand check with advantage, being the child of Hephaestus that you are.
Good thing for the advantage. Jeez, that's going to be a 16.
All right. You nimbly crack your fingers, roll your shoulders, crack your neck. The moment you slide the first portion of your lockpick in, you realize this is going to be even easier than you thought. You jiggle it around a little bit, lift up a little bit of the tumblers inside as it easily opens up inward in front of you. Just
pops open, and as the door pops open, I look at it, hang my head a little bit, and go, "We barely got to know each other." And then I wave everybody else in.
All right. Shirley proceeds. Jack proceeds.
David proceeds.
Yeah, Laura follows.
Wally, you are the last one out in the hallway.
Yeah, but as I come in, I'm going to lock the door behind me.
Okay. You shut the
I'm
door.
assuming on the inside of the door, it's just a switch.
It is. It is an oblong handle that sits squarely mounted in the center of the door handle. You rotate it clockwise, locking the door. Through the tiny keyhole, you're still able to perceive what is just beyond as a thick amount of orange light is emitted from the now burning monster that is making its way down. You watch as the torchlight that is emitted from it, the bright light that is radiating off of it, slowly drifts away as you hear the thumping of the Minotaur's hooves still approaching, dragging of his axe. You hear, "Huh? What is this?" And you hear a thwack, thwack. A couple of swings from the Minotaur. You hear a large chomp, 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 thwack. With a lick from the mimic on the Minotaur. And you hear this go on for a couple of rounds. You hear a couple more swacks, a couple more chops as if he's trying to chop down a huge tree. Finally, thwack! Heavy panting from the Minotaur. Oh, that was weird. Wonder what could have caused this. As he stomps out the fire that is now igniting the small carpeted area in front of him, slips, falls down into it, and brushes himself off. You hear some of the acid from the internal structure of the mimic burning and singeing the hair of the Minotaur. What is this? That was gross. The only light in the room that you're now inside of is there's two sections that are emitting light. There's a small window on the west wall inside of the area for Mr. Hurst's dormitory. And you also notice that Laura is still holding her torch on, pointed at the ground, trying to point it off center so that way she's not causing more commotion and possibly detection from the Minotaur. You sit there in silence, listening for the Minotaur. Thump, thump, thump. It looks around, sniffing the air. Laura, will you roll a perception check for me for the Minotaur? That is a D10. You roll really poorly for monsters, and really well for the guys.
She is the best party member ever.
Clearly. The Minotaur gives a big sniff, gives a heartily cough as it tries to expel the smoke that is now filling its lungs from the corpse of this mimic. Takes another big whiff on the floor, smelling the carpet, gets a nose full of golden dust, you suspect possibly from David's body. Smells like demigods. And he looks, as well, you're barely able to see all of this through the keyhole. He peers around, looks at one door, looks at your door, and then looks over at the staircases. It must have gone this way. As he then thump, 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 slips on the edge of the carpet and tumbles down the stairs. Stands back up. You hear a large crack and roll of the shoulders as he proceeds out of earshot. Clunk, clunk. Wonder where they were. Clunk, 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 clunk. Good job avoiding combat.
So that went well.
Laura threw up her hands in celebration. So you are now inside of Hurst's personal dormitory.
Well, looks at everybody else. Don't touch anything.
Pretty much.
Let's see if I can find it. Do you recognize any of it?
Wait, that's his bedroom.
That's his bedroom? Okay.
Yes. I think the picture was online.
Yes, that picture was small.
I have no idea.
It is now.
Okay.
All right. You see beyond you on the left-hand side a series of open door or closed doorways with rolled-up shutters over large window panes. There's very thin lines of dark gray and white light peering through from the moonlit sky outside. The hallway continues through this room that you're in, through another room, and into a third room. The doors that proceed in front of you are unlocked. This is the main dormitory area for William Randolph Hearst. Got the sentence down.
Good job.
Nailed it. The room is incredibly gilded and decorated with a odd, eclectic sense of art decor, and the bed itself looks very wondrous and fluffy. And you notice off to your right-hand side, just out of shot from this photo, is the closeted and bathroom section.
You said there were curtains and things?
The curtains are on the left-hand side, drawn over just barely emitting light at the bottom of it. The other light source in the room is your torch. Your flash.
I'm gonna scan the room for cameras.
All right, go ahead and roll perception roll.
Doo-doo. That'll be a 21, sir.
You look about and notice that there are no cameras in the room. There is
None.
no odd reflections out of any of the furniture. None of the corners appear to be oddly discolored or discouraging glances at them. There's no sort of
blinking red
perception
lights,
filters or
nothing.
anything that obscures anything in the area that you're able to see. You suspect that this is one of the rooms that was ideally preserved quite well in the area. And this dormitory itself that you're in doesn't appear to have any sort of cameras or electronics other than the single clock by the bed.
Okay.
You do notice off to the side, the large drawer section, this armoire that's there, does have a reconstruction and model of the Celestial Tower inside it.
Celestial Towers.
Celestial Suite?
Celestial Suite, yes. David, how you feeling?
Dave is feeling a bit better after drinking some of that health potion. Still not feeling super great. I'd like to.
Self-advocacy. What you need? What you gonna do, David?
Dave is gonna snack on some tasty ambrosia.
Nice, nice. So you expend 1 usage of your ambrosia. I'll take that out of your equipment. You heal up 4 points plus your Constitution modifier of 3, which gives you a +7. Heals you for 7 points, leaving you at 33 HP.
I'm feeling pretty better now. You know, still like, it's been a rough afternoon, but I can still do a little bit more. You know, kind of like that stage. Do I notice anything? You know, with my one monocloptic eye, do I notice anything that's really jumping out at me? Like, ooh, that thing looks neat.
Go ahead and roll investigation.
Don't touch anything.
Monovision, activate.
Shirley gets a 14.
Monovision. Actually,
Man, that's got to be my catchphrase. That was a investigation.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because it's a -2, I gotta take the 18, but I rolled a 20.
critical success with a -2.
Monovision for the win.
For the win. You go, Monoclops. You go.
All right. Shirley, what did you get as well?
I would say the same to Laura as well, by the way. That
14.
was inspired. I didn't
What
even
was
know
it?
that you had that shit.
14.
Okay. And Wally, what were you saying?
I was saying hats off to Laura as well for that last encounter. I didn't even know she had that necrotic spell. That was pretty badass.
Thank you. Laura didn't know she had it either.
Yeah, but he showed you a list and you went with gut, and I like the way that your gut thinks.
Thank you.
You just walk over and you're like, this spell works. Let's inflict some wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a good fit because it's one of the things that none of us are really using yet. Like it's a direction that none of us have leaned in yet, and that's kind of funny.
All right. So, just outside of this room, as David is looking about, you notice off to the right-hand side there is a very large set of ornate armor. It is gold and very dense and heavy. It is well constructed and very well decorated. You notice that as you walk through the room, the head of the armor itself does seem to watch and rotate as you proceed forward, looking about. The suit of armor itself also possesses a very large kite shield in its left hand and a very well-shaped and ornate dagger in the right-hand side, just slightly shorter than the short sword. It is elongated and it has a crossguard. As you walk past, you notice that these suits of armor, there's one on each side of the room, just outside of view from this angle of this room. They both watch you as you walk by, but make no move towards you, just observing you walking by. And you notice as you approach a second desk in the area, there's a large amount of clothing and gowns that are just draped over some of the seating areas in there, dressed as if there was some sort of reception that had been here. Maybe Laura might have some more information for you for why there are shoes and pants and dress shirts and different things set up in areas.
Yeah.
David notices.
Oh.
David
This
might
place
be
is
talking.
haunted.
So David's noticing that there's armor that's watching me. There's clothes on the floor.
The clothes do not seem to move.
Yeah, it looks like someone like changed into their pajamas and then just tossed their clothes like at the bed and left the shoes on the floor and
Or are they displayed?
If he pulls you over,
Okay.
you can identify. Cholet, with your 14, you do notice that some of the area does appear to be slightly different than what Laura had described. What Laura had described as bright red garments, and off some of the small seating arrangements would be covered with a red floral print. These ones have a bright white and yellow hue to them, slightly off-putting and discolored, but definitely a noticeable distinction.
I want to take a closer look at the armor.
Okay, so you walk into the second room. You take note and watch as David jumps back and forth, making the helmets move back and forth left and right as he's dodging and moving left and right, waiting for them to like strike at him or move or do anything. They just
it's like, hey, look what I can make the heads do.
swinging left to right, right to left,
It's like they're watching tennis.
as David's just sprinting back and forth across the room.
David's got the zoomies.
Thump, 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 thump. Cholet, you do notice that the suits of armor themselves do watch him go back and forth, left and right across the room. You notice a large seated writing desk in front of it with a large ornate armchair behind it.
You said there was a desk right there?
Yes.
I want to go check the desk.
Okay, go ahead and roll investigation. Wally, what are you doing?
19.
I think I'm going to access as many. I think I'm going to go into like the city state and try and hack their files to see if I can get some like legit, super detailed blueprints of the grounds, like including any old school tunnels, any secret passages, just to get a better idea of exactly what sort of complex we're dealing with here and exactly how close we are to a quick escape should we need to make one.
Okay. Go ahead and make an intelligence check. Wally. Sorry, Shelley. What did you roll?
14.
All
Sorry, 15 plus my modifier, which is investigation.
Yes.
18. 18.
So you inspect the desk and notice that there are 2 locked drawers that are present. And in your inspection, you notice that both of them are also booby-trapped.
At this point, I want to take out my lockpicking tools, but first try to discern where the traps are originating. If it's like a spring, if it's an open trap. As soon as I open it, will something happen? That kind of.
You notice that both of the drawers are on the left and right-hand side, one on each side of the armchair in the middle. You recognize that this is a booby-trapped area because the desk itself has an odd seam, one on each side above the desk drawers, and you suspect that if you tried to pick the lock or open it without the appropriate measures taken, the desk itself would split and something would pop out from it like a spring-loaded trap of some kind.
I want to try and dismantle the trap.
Alright, so you'll make a disarming trap check, which is a sleight of hand. It's dexterity based, and you can add your proficiency bonus to it as well.
Sleight of hand. So with my proficiency, it's going to be a 16.
Alright. With that, you are able to MacGyver your way through, managing to maneuver your tools inside of the lock and feel inside of it where the lock itself is compressing the spring to the trap behind it. You suspect that by weighting down the top area of it, you might be able to prevent it from fully launching itself open, or you could try to disarm and remove the spring from the clasp on the lock, so that way it would not launch at all if you prefer.
I'm going to go ahead and not launch at all.
Okay. You maneuver your tool, remove the spring-loaded section from it, and also unlock the chest itself. You hear a click as the spring itself comes loose and releases the tension vibrating inside the desk, shaking it very vigorously, and you suspect that this would definitely have been a very hard-hitting trap if anybody had triggered it before. You open the desk and you notice that there are almost like rolled coins, thick drachmas present in the area that are just stacked one on top of the other throughout the whole width of the drawer, going all across the length and width, completely lining and gilding the inside with a beautiful golden hue. You find 200 drachma.
Jeez.
On one drawer.
Go on, son.
I want to check to make sure the old bite the drachma to make sure that they're legit drachmas. Or
Go ahead and make a Constitution saving.
I freaking knew it. Fall to the ground, seizing and foaming at the mouth.
that will be 21.
Thank Hades.
All right. Just before you put the drachma in your mouth, you get a faint whiff. And you recognize the smell. You being an assassin, you are very familiar with different ways of baiting people into taking poison. So right before you put it into your mouth, you get the aroma and faint whiff of arsenic. And before you put it in your mouth, you realize, I probably shouldn't do that. Like a real heavy hand on your heart saying, bad idea.
Is it exerting 10 pounds of force?
It is your mage hand on your heart.
Uh,
Pushing it
Hand
out of
covers
your
your mouth.
At this point, how far away is Wally from me?
He's at the doorway, sitting there with his laptop out, searching the internet. What did you roll, Wally?
I'm sorry?
Did you make your investigation check?
Oh, it was an investigation check. You said an intelligence check. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
If it was investigation, then it was a 14.
Okay. It takes you a little while.
Much better.
You're quite focused on it while you're working. And in the middle of it, you're getting pretty close to finding what you want. You get interrupted by Sholay for just a moment. Sholay, what do you say?
Hey, can I get a leather bag?
Sure. I'm gonna Kirby. Let me get. Can I get a big leather backpack? Can you stuff one of those through there for me, lad?
Right, it spits out a leather satchel-like container with an overlapping hood section to it that buttons with the clasp.
Thank you.
There you go.
But I go back to the desk and I put the drachmas inside the pouch.
It is a very heavy satchel full of golden poison drachmas.
But at this point, I carefully work on the lower drawer.
The other drawer you recognize does have the same trap-like design. Go ahead and roll your sleight of hand.
Shouldn't be too hard. You already did it once.
Seven, 10. It's going to be a 14 again.
All
You
right.
open the door, a cloud of anthrax flies in your face.
This one, you manage to dislodge the spring from the back end of it, unlock it with ease, slide it open, and it has several clear vials. They are glass and stopped with a cork at the top, and there's a fluid inside of them. What color is it? Pink. There are 3 pink vials.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
They are ominously pink.
Chugs them.
I
You
remove
pick them
them.
up and you hover over it with your Photoshop eyedropper to determine what color this is, and it says ominous pink.
I carefully.
Sorry, Shirley, please make a history check, please. With advantage.
Oh boy.
It's ominous pink.
He's like, I've seen this shade of ominous.
Thank God I had advantage. That's a 2 and 12.
All right.
History, that's going to be a 15.
Based off of your class description of being an assassin, you have proficiency with poison kits. You recognize this as, in particular, being arsenic in liquid form.
I carefully put these in my poison kit
All right.
or in my equipment.
Nice.
And I start working on the other side. I first check the first 2 drawers to make sure there's no fake bottom kind of. If someone went to the trouble of booby trapping this, there might be other things that I might have missed.
Go ahead and roll investigation.
Yes. 20. Dirty 20.
All right. You do find that both of them have a hollowed out bottom. You open it up, and the central cavity in it is not quite as large as you expected based off of the size of the front panel of the drawer itself. You recognize that at the very back end, it has a latch, a small, almost thumb-sized hole that you're able to easily slide one finger in and pry it open and peel it back. And as you do, you hear the wood itself, the paneling and adhesive peeling off of it, ripping off quite loudly on both sides. Below it, you find $3,000 each.
Okay. And then I work on the bottom one to see if there's a similar fake panel.
That was for both. You found the same thing.
Okay. At this point, I will go to the left side of the desk and start working on those ones.
There were 2 drawers in total,
Oh, I thought there were 4. My bad.
1 on each side.
Okay. At this point, I will walk over to David and be very careful with that desk. Don't smack it around.
Wasn't planning on fighting the desk. As long as it doesn't start a fight.
Wally, you do eventually find schematics for the room. There are 3 chambers in this area. One is denounced as the central sleeping quarters for Mr. Hurst. The central area that has the 2 suits of armor in it, that also has has Cholet and David in it, is the lounge-like area that also contains Hurst's main central desk and writing area. And the third area is a seating and hosting area that's over there, and it is attached to the library, his secondary secret personal library that's over there.
I'm gonna head towards that.
Towards what?
The hidden secret library.
All right. You walk over, and following the blueprints and schematics in your hand, you walk over towards a oddly shaped 45-degree cut in the wall that is covered with a bookshelf in front of you. And you see that in your schematics, there should be a doorway here, an arched doorway, but in front of you, all you see is a set of bookshelves.
Okay. I'm gonna put away the laptop.
All right.
I'm going to first examine the bookshelf itself to see if, for instance, is it on wheels? Is it on a hinge? Are there marks on the floor where it's been moved?
You notice along the floor there are drag marks in the carpet where you suspect that the book itself has swung inward towards you in a counterclockwise direction.
Okay. Let me look at the shelves themselves to see what's on them. What are these particular books about? Is anything out of place?
The books themselves appear to be of similar size, color, dimension, all of them being roughly 2 inches in width and 10 inches tall, ranging in thematic scheme from Lord of the Rings, lots of books that are for young adult novels, some of them named Percy Jackson, others named House of Hades, Blood of Olympus, several of them, Harry Potter's, Lord of the Rings. You notice that there's a small manga section as well. Cholet, what are some of the manga titles? There's 2 of them.
Tokyo Mew Mew.
Okay. Tokyo Mew Mew, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And there's several others of them. As you're flipping through and touching the spines and feeling the tops and backs of the shelf itself, they're all removed with ease and placed back with ease as well. And you notice no discernment from the bookshelf. No change.
Is there anything else on the bookshelf?
The bookshelf is from floor to ceiling, all books, all of similar size, colors, themes, and schemes. And the shelves themselves, the shelves, not the books residing on them, appear to be a surprisingly thick wood. They are about 4 inches thick.
Okay. I'm going to examine the edges of the bookshelf to see if it's got any kind of like button or latch.
All right. You inspect the area. On several of them, you notice that there is a small indentation and depression on different sections of the bookshelf. You see that on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sections, there are indentations on the lefternmost side and with a press, you hear a st, 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 as each of them themselves sinks in and locks into place. And with the depressing of the fourth one at the top, you feel that the bookshelves itself shifts up a half an inch and is freely able to rotate.
Okay. I will freely rotate it.
You rotate it and you hear, as it gets closer to it being fully open, it gets about halfway open, you hear as it drags along the floor,
Okie dokie.
opening with ease.
What's behind it? Door or tunnel?
Behind it is what is currently on the screen. There is a very large, ornately carved chamber on the inside. On your left-hand side, you do notice a very large fireplace topped with two statues. They do appear to be Roman in decoration and carving scheme, and you do recognize this figure as well. You recognize this as Terminus.
Oh boy.
He doesn't appear to have noticed you. His eyes are completely hollow, being the classic depiction of him. The eyes themselves do not have any pupils to them or any eyelids, so it is just a blank stare as he's looking forward. But based off of how far he's leaning forward and slightly slouched, you suspect he might be asleep at the moment.
Okay, I'm going to quickly step back and close the bookshelf. Not relocking it, but just closing it as quietly as possible. And then I'm going to go find everybody else.
All right, you turn 180 and notice that Laura's standing off to the side. Laura, what were you up to?
She was wandering through the 3 rooms, looking at all of the clothes that were displayed and kind of reminiscing of when she saw people actually wearing the outfits. And as she goes through, she's trying to close the blinds while making sure her flashlight isn't seen from the outside.
Do you turn off your flashlight?
I turn off my flashlight as I get close to the window, close the blind, flip the flashlight back on.
Okay. You manage to secure the perimeter as well, noticing that some of the dresses in particular do look very familiar to you. You notice that they have a bright blue hue, and you notice some of them have very flapper-esque styles to them. And you suspect that this might have been maybe a 30s or even more recently designed and crafted garment. But you do recognize, and you do know the person that wore this before. Let me make sure I got the right notes for it. No. The last time you saw somebody wearing this dress in particular, you were able to identify her as Hebe.
That's all Laura's doing.
That's what you get.
That's what I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if anybody wants to, they can make an intelligence history check on the name as it is emitted from Laura's mouth, including Laura.
I'll do that then. Well.
I should know. Wally.
Did she mumble the name when she saw the clothes? She's
Yes.
near me. She mumbled it, so I heard her mumble it. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to recognize that name. You said history?
Yes. You rolled a 6, so
Great.
Shelley rolled a 7.
History for me, though, is going to be...
David, do you wish to partake?
I was about to ask if David was close enough. David's going to try his. David's going to try his luck.
Jack does have a big bonus to his history.
Yeah, it's going to be a 17.
Okay.
David rolled a 6.
All right. So, the only people that remember are Wally and Jack. Wally, you know that Hebe starts with an H. Probably not a good girl.
Sounds like a minor goddess.
It is a minor goddess. In fact, you are able to identify that Hebe is the minor goddess of youth.
Oh boy.
And
I'm gonna, when I recognize it, I'm gonna be like, did you just say Hebe? Like, goddess of youth. I met her once. What was she like when Wally met her? The one time that he went to Olympus and was allowed around all the gods.
She was quite beautiful, very
Yeah.
young at heart, and very
Mhm.
spry. She was
Okay.
definitely very intelligent and very kind and caring to those that she spoke with.
She seemed nice. What's her dress doing here, you think? I mean, aside from the obvious possibilities.
Jack points out as well. She's also the daughter of Zeus and Hera. So I think we should definitely be on the lookout, just in case we see other minor gods or goddesses they might be working for Hera.
Can Laura try to remember when she saw?
Sure. You remember with ease. The last time she wore the dress was during the gala that this is reminiscing for. There was a large gathering that Hearst had at his castle that was here when he purchased and made a large monopoly over the newspaper industry. You also recognize, seeing that you are a demigod, were able to see through the mist and recognize that the union of the two companies wasn't actually two separate entities, but was the Greek and Roman camps previously unifying and working together towards a common goal, which was to dethrone Hermes, who was trying to regain power and being the god of communication, was utilizing the two different newspapers to spread propaganda and gain power. He, through unifying the two camps for the moment, was able to dethrone Hermes and resolve the issue.
Laura answers Wally. I think the last time I saw Hebe wearing the dress.
Hebe.
Okay.
Like the heebie-jeebies.
Heebie-jeebies.
Yes.
Got it.
I don't make this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I kind of do.
It's up to us to figure out which is which.
I saw her wearing the dress was at one of Hearst's galas where he was merging companies and some gods were involved, but
Oh, the thing with Hermes. I think I remember that. Hearst was involved in that.
yeah, he was really big back in the day with everything communication wise, even some movies and television too.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I mean, I didn't realize that that's where we were, but how do you think this dress got left here, though? I mean, so far as I'm aware, gods and goddesses aren't the sort to leave their undergarments lying around like this.
You also recall that at this evening gala that you were at, Hearst was displaying a very large and prominent movie at the time. And the theater itself was filled to capacity. Everybody had a very jubilous time and thrived in the area and event. It was a huge monument in the legacy of Hearst Castle.
So are we actually saying here that we think William Randolph Hearst was involved with Hebe, goddess of youth? Is that actually what we're thinking here?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, Hearst was kind of like the Great Gatsby of his time. Constant parties. Sometimes he didn't even know who was staying at his house, hence the private and public library. I mean,
sounds like exactly her sort of man, to be perfectly honest. I mean, she's the spirit of forever being young and free of responsibility.
Forever young.
She's like a hot Peter Pan or something. I kind of feel like Hearst sounds like exactly her sort of lad. In which case, keep your eyes open. I don't like to think what sort of things might be here if the goddess of youth is running about making sure nothing ever ages.
So don't touch anything.
Just be careful what you do touch, especially if it's alive or magical or poisonous. We've all been
Someone say
around
poisonous.
Speaking of poisonous, no.
Why, did you touch something?
I may or may not have broken into his desk.
I'd assume it was
private
booby
desk.
trapped, but I know that means nothing to you. Same as me. The trap's a challenge. I mean, they're looking you right in the eye and are you smart enough to open this drawer? And, you know, if you walk away, then you're saying, no, I'm not. No self-respecting thief can look at a booby-trapped drawer or door and not at least open it.
Well, did you break it or just break into it?
Broke into it.
Did you take anything?
Yeah.
What did you take?
A couple vials of arsenic and some coins.
Were they part of the tour?
Is any of this part of the tour?
Yes.
I point to David and went, oh, yes.
The books were part of the tour.
Yeah, right up until they decided to eat us. I'd assume that they don't do that for every group of soccer moms that comes by. That seems a rather special service, the sort of thing you might have to pay extra for. It's lucky we got the tickets free.
Laura huffs and walks away to go look at more clothes.
So, other than the suits of armor watching me as I had my case of the zoomies running back and forth and I was playing with the armor, do they do anything else?
As soon as Cholet started to interact with the desk, you notice that their eyes, the slots that are eyes for this plate mail, transfix themselves on Cholet, and they don't remove their gaze from his direction as he proceeds around the room and converses with the others.
So they're just watching him as he just does whatever he does?
Oh, they're staring hard right now.
Did I see any of the heads move?
You've seen them move previously. So far, Cholet hasn't walked around anymore. You haven't noticed them moved more than normal.
I think I'm at this point going to approach one of the suits of armor and try to figure out whether what's going on.
Alright, go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw, Wally.
Well, at least it's not a dexterity saving throw. Didn't try to choke the life out of me yet. You said Constitution?
Yes, please.
That's going to be an 11. I immediately die.
You take 2d8 fire damage, which is 6 points of fire damage.
I'm immune.
Correct. You sustain 0 points of damage. The hairs on your arm immediately singe and catch fire, and then regrow out of the bald patch that was there for but a moment.
I'm actually so immune to fire, I'm going to try and see where this fire's... I'm going to look right at it and just be like, where did this gout of fire come from?
So you notice at the joints and interlocking, overlapping pieces of metal that comprise this metal monstrosity emit a huge amount of invisible heat out from it. It looks to be some sort of invisible fire that's there. You're able to feel, based off your proximity to it, where the sources and spouts of it are, but you don't see any fire burning inside of it. As you start to inspect it more and more, you notice that its right leg lifts up off of its pedestal, descends in front of you, and presses down, and its left leg lifts up and descends off the pedestal as well. It withdraws its sword from its left-hand side, its holster, and arms itself and looks at Cholet. Both of them in sync perfectly.
Oh, boy.
Did we just make the statue mad?
No, but Cholet did.
I need everybody to roll initiative, please.
Shortly put the money back.
He would not have left himself without a way to shut these things off if they were rogue, though. Oh, okay. Okay. Rolling initiative. And, okay. That's going to be a 5.
Mine's David's a 14.
Chole will be 10.
Shirley's got to go through puberty again.
Yeah.
Laura rolls 18 plus 2. Jack,
Ooh.
15. And the monsters roll independently. Uriel started from that.
Great.
As you suspected. By taking stuff out of her stats. Shotle, you notice as you look around that these suits of armor, as you're clinking these golden drachma in your bag, take notice of you and stare, even though they have no face and no eyes. You can tell based off their torso and posture, shouldering up, facing squarely towards you, swords drawn as they start to approach. They're probably not happy with you. We start our combat with Laura.
So what are they doing?
They're approaching Shotle.
Turn to Shotle. Put it back. Put the stuff back.
You expend 1 point instructing Wally. Shotle. Do you cast anything? Do anything? Or just wait until you see what Shotle does?
I think this one.
Okay. So,
Is that a good one?
you cast Detect Good and Evil. For the duration, you know if there is an aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead within 30 feet of you, as well as where the creature is located. Similarly, you know if there is a place or object within 30 feet of you that has been magically consecrated or desecrated. The spell can penetrate most barriers, but is blocked by 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood or dirt. It does not work. You know that in this area, as you cast this spell, you extend your fingers out around you, allocating your senses into the area surrounding you. Breathing in and out, exhaling, you detect around you no sources of evil, no sources of good. The only area that surrounds you, you suspect these metal monstrosities that are coming towards you are not celestial, aberrations, elementals, fey, fiend, or undead. They are something else. So they themselves are not evil. You can choose to continue the spell for up to 10 minutes if you wish. But you expend 5 points in casting.
Okay.
So you have 11 points remaining. Shirley, do you have any reply to her as she tells you to do something?
I quickly count the number of suits of armor that are walking towards me.
2.
I back off slowly away back from them. Like, do I really have to put it back?
All right. Jack delays his turn. David, what do you do? You can if you wish. You didn't say you end your turn. Other than telling put it back.
Okay. We're good.
Okay. You're the only one that knows that it's not good.
David's going to agree with Laura. Just put it back, Shotle. Whatever you did, it looks like they want you.
I
Undo what you did.
Make my way back and slowly put the bag back into the first drawer.
Okay. You put the bag into the drawer, and they stare at you and keep coming closer, 1 foot after the other.
I put down the 3 vials as well.
You deposit the 3 vials, and the suits of armor hesitate, and then keep pursuing you, stepping forward, 1 foot in front of the other. Clang, 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 clang.
I look back. Well, it looks like we're going to have to fight this one, or I'm not really sure, guys.
Well, was that everything?
Yeah. I quickly do the quick pad down, and I put the rest of the money back in.
Well done.
As I notice, my back pocket's a little too tight.
You reach into your back left and back right pocket, pulling out $3,000 from each of them and put them back in the drawer. And they look at you for about a moment, hesitate, nod, sheath their swords, and climb back onto their pedestals. Wally, what do you do?
Heave a sigh of relief that I didn't have to get rid of that super badass chariot and horses. For a minute, I was like, damn it, am I going to have to get rid of that too? I was so stoked on that. No, I approach the nearest suit of armor. This is some pretty sweet engineering here. Examine it closely to see if there's some sort of panel that I can open to examine the inside of these things. Because that, she does her. I look over at Laura and go, "That wasn't magic, was it?"
It was, actually.
It was.
There was no. It wasn't good. It wasn't evil. Just magic. No intent other than apparently to keep her stuff safe.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna look for a panel that I can open to see what makes these things tick.
Go ahead and make an Arcana check.
I would love to. Wally's running into so many cool gadgets that other people have made. So many ideas just spinning around his head. You said Arcana. Oh no. Where'd my... Did you just eat that tab? Ooh. Internet? Don't make me mad. Sorry, my computer's having a moment.
It's all good.
Anyway, sorry, that was an Arcana check?
Correct.
Lovely. That would be a 21.
All right. You recognize this to be an animated suit of armor. They're constructs, and they are unaligned. They are neither good nor evil. Animated objects are crafted with potent magic to follow the commands of their creators. When not commanded, they follow the last order they received to the best of their ability and can act independently to fulfill simple instructions. Some animated objects, including many of those created in the Feywild, might converse fluently or adopt a persona, but most are simple automatons. These constructed creatures do not need or require air, food, drink, or sleep. The magic that animates an object is dispelled when the construct drops to 0 hit points. An animated object reduced to 0 hit points becomes innate and is too damaged to be much use to anyone. In particular, animated suits of armor are known to be empty steel shells that clamor as they move, with heavy plates banging and grinding against one another, like the vengeful spirit of a fallen knight.
Okay, so it's hollow and Wally would know that. All right. In that case, he's gonna keep talking to Laura then and just be like, how long's it been since they were getting regular orders from someone?
Well, assuming if it was from Hearst himself, probably 80 years. But if it was someone more recent, I couldn't give you a easier.
And
for
are
her.
we absolutely certain that Hurst is actually, in fact, deceased? Wasn't he one of us?
I know he was a demigod, but I don't know of his whereabouts or how he died or when he died. Just what the tour tells people.
Oh, that wasn't part of the, okay. That wasn't part of the tour or anything. You didn't have to, like, know what happened at the end of it.
You told him that other than what the tour tells you, that's all you know. You know that the tour tells you of his death, when he died, where he died, how he died. But
At
that's
least
what
what the
tour
newspapers
tells you.
would say. I was just asking for the official version,
Yeah, the tour guide version.
Yeah.
We'll find the tour guide version.
Quietly in his sleep. Or whatever they say, like.
Well, I mean, he didn't die loudly bungee jumping off a cliff.
No, he was old.
Just like kidney failure or something when he was in his 80s. But like, he was, was he like at home alone? Suspicious circumstances or anything?
Well, the tour says that he died in Beverly Hills of a heart attack.
What a place to
Hmm.
You suspect that not to be true.
Okay. Does she relay that?
It seems unlikely that he would die in Beverly Hills when he spent over 30 years building his dream home here.
All right, so one more ghost we might have to deal with at this point. We're dead. I look over at David at this point. By the way, I met a friend of yours in the bookshelf there. I'd take it slow. You've had a hard day already.
Who'd you meet?
Your statue pal, the guy who, put 4 inches of steel up your backside.
Oh,
So I
he's
found us an
here?
escape route, but you're Roman, he's Roman. Maybe you can get out.
The last time we were together, he dang near killed me.
Well, it's possible he didn't recognize you. You are wearing blood gear now. Maybe he just took affront at your fashion sense.
At this point, I want to check out the suits of armor's eyes and see where they're looking at.
The suits of armor have returned back to a resting position and have settled themselves with loud clanks back into sheathed swords and readily held shields at their waist. They are staring straight ahead into the nothingness in front of us.
So how do we break these?
Do we need to?
I just want the bag.
Do you need the bag?
Then I suggest you figure out a way to take it without them noticing. Because I don't have the heart to destroy anything so beautiful.
You're on your own with this one, Charlotte.
Did you get your stimulus check?
Meanwhile, so Davy, what you think? Staying here or confront your ancient foe? I mean, we could postmate some food or something while you think about it. You're looking a little peaky there, lad. Kirby, can I get some Carl's Jr.? You know what David likes.
I'm actually curious to see what happens.
You receive nothing from Kirby. You hear zzz, 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 zzz. A small red laser appears over the front of it, zzz, zzz, and nothing spits out. You suspect that Kirby, the Taco Temple, and any other divine nature of this construction that is in your pocket might not be affiliated with Carl's Jr.
Fair enough. Let me get David's favorite from the Taco Temple. I mean, he did shop from the mobile kiosk when we were in Chicago, so I'm sure they've got a record of his last order.
David, you get a faint whiff of guacamole as
Ooh.
Wally retrieves out of his Kirby box a still steaming hot aluminum foil enveloped gordita and passes it over to you.
Ooh, is it the same size as the breakfast one that I had? Or
Yeah,
it's
the
like
grande one. Yeah.
Ooh, yummy.
It is.
So he's
and
going to be
this
busy
time-
for a minute.
And this time you don't need to throw any phones to get it either.
I don't. David is going to. He's starting to learn. Sometimes you don't eat the shiny thing, so he's going to unwrap it and start eating.
Wally's going to sit down with his laptop and do some more digging into Hearst's biography, see if he can pick up any sort of whispers through the black market thieves' cant grapevine about what may or may not have actually happened to him. He's going to email some old nasty connections, and while he does that, I'm going to take Lily to potty real quick and possibly also have a cigarette. So I'll be right back.
Okay. David, during this time, since you have some food, you can choose to take a short rest if you wish and expend your hit dice to regain health. You have up to 5 hit dice of dice size 12 to expend if you wish. This resting period will take about an hour for you.
Yeah, I think I'll, enjoy the food, take a little breather. Let's see what one hit die will get me.
Okay, go ahead and roll 1d12.
Oh, 12.
Nice. You heal
David's
12
half.
HP. You're at 45. Sorry, David, that wasn't a kiss towards you. That was.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Oh my.
I do love the gifts that are coming on here. Well done. Well done. I like the owl that's just jumping on books.
Laura's gonna stand near David and make sure that he doesn't drop lettuce or taco meat onto the floor.
Hey, this is why David's not eating the shiny bits. He's trying to learn, like, oh, you don't eat the shiny parts. Oh, the shiny parts can catch the food?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's neat.
You can also choose to eat the shiny bits too. Just shove the whole thing in your mouth.
Yeah. No trash, no leftovers.
Yeah, they don't really have any trash cans on the tour.
Yeah, but I can always just, shove it in my pocket and throw it away later. Like, I got a date coming up. I gotta try to at least be, not eating the plate.
Okay.
That's fair.
Cholet, you and Jack have some time now. Jack turns to you, speaks to you in a very calm demeanor. We can just try to outrun the suits of armor.
Yeah, but I'm more worried about the party not being quick enough. I was like, we can sneak back though afterwards, right?
We could always try. I mean, we can try to tear it apart. We could come back for it later. You mentioned the desk is trapped, so maybe you could trigger the traps on them. I don't know. Did you keep the traps intact?
No.
Well, I guess that idea is out the window. We can also just leave it.
Surely makes a mental note of this and joins the rest of the party.
Okay, so Cholet, if you wish, David is going to be taking a short rest, as is Wally. You can expend any of your hit dice to recuperate your health if you wish.
I will actually. I will use my hit dice.
Okay. How many are you going to roll?
Let's see. Hit dice 5d8. I'm gonna roll 2.
Okay. Go ahead and let me know what you roll.
6 total.
All right. You're at a whopping 24.
Sweet.
Do you choose to expend any more?
Yeah, I'll do one more.
Okay.
Two.
Nah. All right. 26 HP. Jack looks over at you as you're patching yourself up. And, Cholet, you've been a really kind and caring guy. I think you need a little help along the way. Laura, quit rolling your eyes at me. He puts his hand on your shoulder and casts Cure Wounds at 2nd level. So you heal an additional 2d8 plus 3.
Plus 3, you said?
Yeah,
13.
putting you at 39 HP. Nice job. You did a really good job back there. I was really impressed. Maybe you want to take some time during our short rest here to better attune yourself with your bow. Maybe since you're now, I don't know, a better archer, maybe attuning to it will allow you to be less susceptible to the damage it deals to you.
Yeah. I used to be attuned to it, but I guess it just forgot how it feels in my hands now.
Well, you lost it for a while, so I suspect maybe you need to reacquire your own hearts with the bow, reacquaint yourself.
At this point, I'm going to go in a corner and meditate with it.
Okay. So in the short rest, you do attune yourself to the bow. You will now take half damage from the 2d8 that you roll. Of course, the damage being rounded down if it's half. For instance, if you roll 16, you only succumb to 8 points of damage. If you roll 7, you only take 3 points of damage. So quite a major buff with a
Massive.
All right. So, Laura, what are you doing during your short rest?
Well,
Sure.
once she realizes that David is doing okay with his food not getting everywhere, she continues to investigate the 3 rooms, see if anything else is different than when either she was here constructing the actual building or when she was back in modern days doing tours and reconstructions.
You look about the room and notice that it's very similar to the last time you were here. The suits of armor themselves are very reminiscent of what was here previously. They seem to have recently been animated with some sort of energy or life to them, but the suits of armor you're familiar with being there, just not moving. You're also familiar with the 3 rooms that are here. You're not familiar with what Wally was doing with the bookcase in the corner. That looked new and a little off-putting to you, that somebody had just easily walked over there and discovered a new place. That you've seen blueprints and schematics of this house for years. You worked here for quite a long while.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know about this secret library until just when Wally opened the door.
Right.
That was new and astounding to you.
And then quietly closed it.
Yes.
You also, as you're walking about, peer outside and watch as a thick, rolling gray mist starts to envelop the castle grounds. You, knowing the area quite well and having worked here for the better half of close to a decade, are very familiar with the rolling mist and fog that will envelop the area, but something about this mist doesn't seem right to you. It doesn't sit well. Go ahead and roll Arcana. It's mist. It's really thick, really fast moving, and dense and cloudy, and in areas it seems to clump together. And you notice all of it starts to go skyward. It gets to a certain point within a certain range of the castle grounds, and then all of it seems to roll upwards in a perfect dome-like shape above Hearst Castle. And the mist, as it's rolling, completes almost like a thick white shell around the area, a thick fog, very dense and impenetrable to light beyond it. And you can't see previously, you know there's trees over there, maybe just 30 feet out beyond this window. It is thick and permeable, and it continues to ascend.
Laura looks out the window and just checks to see if she can, from her vantage point, see the celestial suite that she built. Just
go ahead and roll perception
to see if she could see it.
You look outside and you look just slightly off center, a little to your left, and look up. You do see the thick, heavy bronze bells that are dangling from it, and notice a large water tower above it and dome shape. You easily recognize the room you designed. So it's just a little ways away. You suspect if you go back to the staircase and ascend another floor, or go down the hallway past where the Minotaur came from, you have several different paths to get up there.
Right. She doesn't, but...
No, but you know that.
I know. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
She's just wandering, checking stuff out.
Okay. Wally, what are you looking up on your computer?
I'm talking to I'm trying to set up encrypted chats with any of my old black market connections to see if anybody knows if there are any rumors about Hearst Castle, what's going on here right now, what actually happened to Hearst.
After a few moments of scanning the environment, the internet as a whole is not very forthcoming with information that's meant to be hidden, and you suspect that maybe Hermes had something to do with that, maybe out of spite against Hearst, or maybe just an enchantment in the area is making it a little hard to find some of the unknown information that you're aspiring to find. After most of the short west, you're able to find a little bit of information and find glimpses and photos where you see Hearst in the background of different areas, mostly again on the west coast, but more of the Berkeley area and San Francisco area, moving slightly north and a little further along the Golden Coast. You suspect with your intellect that maybe he faked his death and went to Camp Jupiter, or maybe he had something else that he was doing going on in this area. You're not really able to glimpse too much information out of it, but you suspect that you might be able to find more information if you get Cholet's help with it as well. If he assists you.
I think I can glimpse maybe more, though. For instance, how does he look in the photos? Does he look old and decrepit, like he's aging, or does he look like he did in his prime, still young and Gatsby?
Ageless. He looks as if the photos were taken mere seconds from each other. Sometimes he's wearing different suits, different clothes.
Different era of
Sometimes
clothing.
he's got a little fez. Yeah, he does. For a reason. He's even got a little cowboy hat, a little western. He's got a little pipe. You find dozens, hundreds of photos of him. Most taken at the castle. But some of them you notice based off of your history on the East Coast. You recognize some of the area over there as being parts of New York. And being that he did own several news agencies, one of them being in New York, you're quite familiar with some of the backgrounds and landscapes that are there.
Okay, so now I want to see if I can figure out where these parties, see if I can identify based on the date exactly whose house that was, guest list for any of these parties, so that I can start to piece together what fake identity he's using right now.
You are unable to find any guest lists. You suspect that's because he never kept any guest lists. But you are able to piece together that...
Not even the New York stuff, like parties he attended while he was out there?
He's only ever hosted parties that you're able to find. He didn't keep
Okay.
any guest lists.
So none of the photos are actually him at a party somewhere else. They're just him in other places.
Correct.
Okay, sorry, I was misunderstanding what there, just making sure.
So he hosts and attends his own parties in the different areas that he goes to, but he never kept any guest log or record of who attended. You suspect that in the East Coast, it was somewhere in the Manhattan area. There's a few different pubs and areas that you see pictures of him in, dining with guests, famous movie stars, actors, a couple of Tony Award-winning plays and actors that are there, writers. He spends a lot of time with writers. And then on the West Coast, he spends a lot of time with movie stars, directors, anybody and everybody that seems to be some sort of influencer in the area.
What's the most recent celebrity that he's spent time with that I can find?
You see that he's got a couple of very famous photos with some political leaders. Winston Churchill, Calvin Coolidge. One of them that you're very familiar with yourself is Jimmy Walker, the New York City mayor at the time.
Yeah.
Also,
Bo
you're very familiar
James.
with just the liquor itself, but yes. A lot of them do appear to be very famous entertainment industry leaders, and none of them seem to jump out at you as being very impactful. None of them are demigods that you recognize or have a history with from Camp Half-Blood.
Anybody still alive?
Everybody that you see him in photos with, he has outlived.
So there's no recent photos. These are all still from a while ago.
Every photo you find him in is in black and white.
Okay. All right. I would like to spend some time now digging into, while everybody else is doing other stuff until something else happens, I want to spend a little time digging into who is currently in control of his estate, his wealth, from a financial perspective, follow the money trail and figure out whether or not I can use that to lead to some sort of pocket account that he might be using.
You recognize that upon his death, his land and castle was donated to the California State Park System.
Yeah, but what about his personal wealth? That would
it.
still have to go somewhere.
Everything that was on the premises was explicitly written into his will.
Right, but it wasn't all on the premises. Some of it was in banks, is what I'm saying.
Correct. You are not able to find any of those just yet. You see that they are behind some sealed records, and you recognize that you keep seeing a symbol over and over again. And you recognize this to be the symbol of Hermes.
Okay, at this point, having run across the symbol of Hermes multiple times, I'm going to walk over to Chotle and ask him, point at the symbol and be like, somebody's trying to stand between us and whatever's at the heart of all this. Any ideas how I can get around him?
Shall I go ahead and make a history check? I suspect he's not here, so I'll have Laura roll for him instead.
Okay. History?
Yes, please.
12 plus
Okay, for his history, he's got a +3, so that's a 15. Wally, he turns to you with a sly smile, says, I can definitely check with some of the contacts in the Thebes network I've got. We can see if we can remove some of those barriers to you if you want. A lot of it they keep as physical records, so that way there is no online version of it. we can see if we can remove some of those barriers for you. Maybe I can try a couple passwords if you want me to.
Sorry, maybe you can try a couple what?
I could try a couple passwords, maybe see if I can call in a favor to Hermes himself.
I would certainly appreciate that. I have a feeling that he's not only alive, but he's wrapped up in all this, and if we're not very careful, whatever he's mixed up in will sneak up on us.
Makes a lot of sense, Wally. Excuse me, I'm going to go investigate the bathroom and commune with Hermes for a moment, see if I can get a hold of him.
Please don't steal anything from that drawer on your way.
Hey.
No promises, I know.
Hey. Just because the suits of armor were mad at me doesn't make it my fault.
Yes, it does.
All right, Wally.
It does.
He walks over to the bathroom, shuts the door, locks it. Laura, go ahead and make a perception check. Wally as well.
Perception?
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, let's break a trend. 13.
All right. Both of you stare awkwardly about the room. Jack kind of laughs a little bit, says he's probably going to go rummage through the shelves, isn't he? As you hear a thunk, 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 and you recognize a big sigh comes from the bathroom as Shelley says, as you all recognize that, yeah, he checked every single drawer and there was nothing in there. He takes a moment. You hear off inside of the bathroom Shelley talking, but only one side of his conversation that he has. Yeah, I just need you to... There's these barriers that Wally keeps finding online for information. Yeah, I know I haven't been part of your cabin in a while. I just need your help. I just need this one favor. I've done so much for you, leading the camp while you were away. I mean, I put so much of the team on my back. Come on, really. Just somebody, anybody that can get past this or find more information on it. I don't know. I need something. I need anything. What do you mean, hippogriff? Why do I need to get a hippogriff? No, I don't want to get a hippogriff. It wasn't me. You have no proof of that. Wait, how do you know? Well, find them. I can find the harpies myself. Bye. He slams the door open, rattles some of the windows, dislodges some of the artwork off the walls, and the suits of armor rotate their heads and stare at him for a moment.
Laura goes to pick up and put everything back on the walls.
Laura quickly runs over, picks things up, writes paintings, hangs them back up. The suits of armor rotate back and relax. Shelley approaches the group. One hand behind his head, scratching the back. So apparently Hermes cursed some of the information about him and prevents other people from finding it, but left a key in the harpy area. Apparently there's harpies on the premises, and I guess we can find more information in there.
All right, back to my blueprints to find the most, even if it's circuitous, secret passage related route to get us from here to there without having to go down a main thoroughfare or potentially run into the nighttime watch.
You recognize that the harpy enclosure is disguised as the polar bear enclosure in some of the area. That the mist heavily shrouds the area and makes the cages and containment areas vacant to the normal person's glance. But you're able to see through it as some of the pictures that you've seen are taken by demigods, and you're able to see through the mist itself. And you recognize the female shapes, the wings that they have, and you're even able to online find some of the videos that are taken of the areas. And you recognize that there is a song that is sung by them that is able to turn away random ne'er-do-wells. All right. Since it's approaching 10 o'clock, I think we're going to give a quick wrap-up. David,
Yeah.
what flavor is your gordita?
The best flavor.
Ooh. What is the best flavor? Chocolate, Laura says. Chocolate! You bite into the fleshy flour tortilla exterior of the gordita. As you press your teeth inside of it, you taste the melty juice, the sour cream, and chocolate chips mixed inside of it alongside guacamole and a little bit of refried bean
jalapeno.
paste. It's strange. It's not the normal, typical gordita that you're familiar with, but the chocolate is a nice touch. It adds a very unique flavor.
It's off the Taco Temple secret menu.
The chocolate chip.
That's because they sprinkle a little ambrosia in it too.
Yep.
That's why you always feel better after eating the chocolate flavored ones.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, since we're closing this session for the evening, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about what's going on or how we're progressing?
David is a little bit concerned about the terminus statues, or the bus, whatever, that he got told about in the next room. David's like, oh man, I better enjoy this food. I might die again.
I dug the encounter. It was, I like the little, kind of like quick, like, all right, you're in a room and you need 2 keys. Find the keys. I particularly love that RPG aspect of it. Not RPG, but the very like, all right, like you need to make a cake. And it's like find the ingredients, and that's a lot of what we did so far, which I really dug.
I'm glad you liked it.
Hmm.
Wally, any commentary?
I mean, I'm having fun. Our encounters kind of constantly evolve. We handle each one in a kind of different way, which is making it a lot of very dynamic.
All right. Well, with that, thank you, gentlemen and Laura. It has been my pleasure. And I know, unbeknownst to you, you can't see me on my side of the screen, but I have been wearing my orange Camp Half-Blood shirt for this entire campaign, at least for my side, from this side of the screen.
And here I thought I was the only one.
Hey! David, are you wearing your Camp Half-Blood shirt?
David.
All right, I'm gonna need you to roll deception with disadvantage, David.
Oh no, David's not gonna do that. David's like, I was supposed to wear a shirt for this.
It's a privilege if you see me in pants. Remember that.
David's supposed to wear a shirt for TND? Well, darn. David has not been wearing a shirt for D&D.
It's a lot to ask.
It is. Well,
Lily, hush.
thank you for joining me, gentlemen. I hope you have
Thank
a great
you
rest
for
of your
having
evening.
us.
We're going to terminate the end of this video because we have something else to talk about.
Nice choice of words there.